All right, all right. Happy Sunday, fun day, ladies and gents. Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, sabrinasalvati. If you are new, I do want to let you know we are also streaming live on X and Rumble and, of course, YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, YouTube has made a big announcement, which I do plan to tell you guys about later on in the show. There's some changes that are coming that are apparently supposed to start on Monday, tomorrow. So I do want to make you guys aware of this new change that YouTube has announced as well. But ladies and gents, we have a lot to get into tonight. We have 6 stories to cover, 5 of them to cover before Larry Johnson joins us, because he's going to be joining us later on in the show. So I'm not going to be able to do the shout outs to the chat. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in so we can keep up with the time. You guys know I can be long winded and I'm trying to work on that. But tonight's theme, ladies and gents, is called What Have You Done For Me? And if you want to, for a little bit of fun, you can add the word lately after that. Like the Janet Jackson song, What Have You Done For Me Lately? I think that's very fitting with tonight's story. So first and foremost, if you haven't done so, please do me a solid and smash that like button. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. What have you done for me? That is the question, ladies and gents. So let's go ahead and give a shout out to Sabby patrons. Thank you guys so much for your support. Really do appreciate all of you, fam, keeping the lights on around me here. Tonight, we're going to give a shout out to the patrons first. I was so ready to jump into the thumbnail. Did you see what happened there? I was about to say tonight we are discussing. So, okay. Thank you so much to everyone who is a Sabby patron. Really appreciate you guys. If you're interested, I do have 5 categories. We have the ultimate, the Sabinators, the Sabsters, who are pretty cool and badass too. We also have the Sabbies. They're doing their thing, just holding down the fort like the others. And last but not least, we have members. All of their names are listed here, ladies and gents. And you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen on the ticker throughout the show. I do want to give a shout out to a new Sabby patron. We call them newbies. Let's give it up for Joshua Nunn. Thank you and welcome. Welcome back. Yeah. We're going to have some fun today because, like I said, it's Sunday, and you guys know on Sunday, we do like to have a couple of laughs. So we do have, I think, 2 stories that we may have some laughs with, just to start out the week, a little bit more chill. And that's what Sunday's all about. So let's go ahead without further ado and get into that thumbnail, ladies and gents. Again, so much to get into. I'm already laughing, and I just like... Oh my God, I tell you, it's been crazy. Tonight, we are discussing, of course, Larry Johnson is going to be joining us later in the show. If you have not heard, Israel is now targeting Turkey, just like we did predict that they would. And this is getting very intense. We're going to get into all of that, along with Iran has been invited to join this, I guess, defense pact that is with Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and of course, Turkey. So there's a lot of things that are moving and shaking there in the Middle East. And I do want to make sure we get into all of that. And what does that mean for the grand scheme of things? We're also going to discuss Donald Trump has beef with beef. Donald Trump announcing that he is going to be importing beef into the United States to lower costs. And apparently the farmers, the U.S. farmers, are not having that. And they are making their voices very well heard, as it should be. That is not obviously America first. That is benefiting one of the countries that you'll find out about tonight, one that has very strong Zionist foothold in it. We're going to get into all of that. We're also going to discuss the Hayden penitentiary death, which I covered a couple of days ago, is now under investigation. And Gayle King, friend of Oprah, has decided to talk about Hayden penitentiary behind her back now that she is dead. So she's pulling an Oprah. Yeah, she's pulling an Oprah. We're going to get into all of that, ladies and gents, and much more, including what her mom has said. We're also going to discuss Angie Nixon is being attacked pretty heavily by corporate media, but that is also connected to the announcement that was just made on Sunday, which is that Hakeem Jeffries has just met with Jared Kushner. All of this is connected. And I'm going to explain to you who is really running things, who's really driving that bus. Because apparently, again, I told you a lot of the times these politicians are just puppets. And this meeting with Jared Kushner says a lot, says a lot. We're also going to discuss Alex Jones has challenged Tim Pool to a fight. It's Sunday fun day. We got to have some fun. Alex Jones and Tim Pool going back and forth at it. They are angry with each other. And last but definitely not least, we have to discuss what is happening in Gary, Indiana at this point right now. The people there have been without power for over a week. And there's a little bit of good news, a little bit of I would say a light at the end of that tunnel, because other people have stepped up. And we need to highlight that, and we need to talk about what's really happening in Gary, Indiana. So much to get into, ladies and gents. Again, the theme is, what have you done for me? So let's go ahead and get into the first story. Donald Trump has made an announcement that he is going to be importing beef into the United States. So he is going to be, in other words, benefiting farmers abroad and not farmers here in the United States. Now, the reason why he says he's doing this is to help with the cost of beef products in the United States. But hold up. Donald Trump just told you a couple of days ago that the costs were coming down. He's been saying this. The costs are coming down. They're down, he says. And he said that all of these news outlets that are saying that the cost is up, that these people are fake news. Now, this is something that Trump supporters should pick up on. If he just told you a couple of days ago that the costs were already down, but now he's telling you he's importing beef to get the cost to come down, obviously he lied. It's just, wake up, people. Wake up. So let's go ahead and show you this. This is from the Good Ranchers. We understand why beef prices are a problem right now. Ground beef is averaging $6.89 a pound, up 57% since 2021. And that's real pressure on American families. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I've seen the cost myself at the grocery store. But flooding the market with 300,000 metric tons of imported ground beef with no tariff for 90 days is not a solution to American ranchers. It's a short-term price fix that puts more downward pressure on the cattle producers who are already struggling to stay viable. Trump has not said which countries this beef is coming from or who committed to the 25% price reduction he is promising. There's an update on that. He's mentioned one of them we'll get into. American cattle ranchers have been dealing with this years of drought, high feed costs, and a shrinking herd. The answer to that is not more cheap imported beef with lower standards competing against them on shelves with no country of origin label required to tell you the difference. We will continue to source 100% American. That is not changing. So that is the Good, cattle account there responding to Donald Trump's announcement that he is going to be importing beef. Obviously, this is not going to be good for American farmers. And a lot of them did vote for Donald Trump. So this is the statement that they are referring to here. Today, I concluded a deal to substantially lower the price of ground beef for working American families. As everyone knows, under President Biden, beef prices soared at their fastest rate, and the American beef herd fell to its smallest size in modern history. As we work to rebuild this herd and help our ranchers for the next 90 days, the U.S. will allow up to 300,000 metric tons of product for ground beef to be imported with no out-of-quota tariff. We have a commitment that this beef will be sold at 25% below current market prices. This deal will reduce prices for Americans while giving space for our great American beef herd to grow again. So here's part of the problem. So again, this does not benefit the farmers who are here. Again, many of them who did vote for Donald Trump. This is just putting a Band-Aid on a wound that is going to rupture yet again, because you're not getting to the core problem here. And that is something that Donald Trump does not intend to do. The problem that we have here, the prices, yes, we complained about it under Biden, but we're also complaining about it under Donald Trump, because obviously we are headed for economic disaster. We are in a big problem here in the United States. And what has continued to happen is that the rich continue to get richer and the poor get poorer. And it seems like every time there is this news report of wages increasing, everything else always tends to increase. So here we go. Always connected back to the money. Now, I want you to hear a little bit more from these farmers. This is from Iowa's Cattlemen's Association. They are not happy about this. Check it out.
This morning, President Trump announced a new plan to import 300,000 tons of ground beef into the U.S. with lower tariffs. It's a decision that he and Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins says will help lower prices.
But the Iowa Cattlemen's Association says it's going to hurt more than it will help. KCCI's Abigail Curtin spoke with both of them to learn what's at stake for purchasers and producers.
Ground beef. It's a protein staple in millions of American households. But since January 2025, the price has jumped 24%. President Trump is hoping to change this. Friday morning, he announced he'd allow 300,000 metric tons of ground beef to be imported with lower tariffs over the next 90 days. In a visit to the Iowa State Fair, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins says this will take some of the burden off of consumers' wallets.
We can get a 25% decrease for families, usually lower income families rely on ground beef. Then he wanted to make that move for the American consumer.
But the Iowa Cattlemen's Association doesn't agree.
Obviously, we're disappointed with that.
Lowering beef prices doesn't come without a cost that the Iowa Cattlemen's Association says is creating confusion for its producers.
We talk about supporting our farmers and ranchers, but then you take some of their profitability away right away out of this by inserting a foreign product into our domestic market.
And I do want to remind everybody that because the Trump administration had loosened some of those regulations on the FDA, you don't know what this might be. And again, no shade, not trying to throw shade to other countries, but all I'm saying is they loosened some of these regulations. And now you have a product that is coming from another country, 300,000 metric tons, apparently, according to Donald Trump. So it's just like, you don't know what you might be eating. This is where's RFK Jr., Mr. I care about the food and the health of the people, going along with a lot of this. So I don't consider this to be safe either. We don't know what the label's going to say. They can change the labels to make it fit what they want it to fit. Those regulations were in place for a reason.
Decision comes as Iowa's farmers are already facing high input costs with low profit margins, and as the U.S. supply of beef cattle is at a 75-year low, something Secretary Rollins acknowledged but justified.
I understand the decision and defend the decision and look forward to continuing to rebuild the herd, but to ensure that we're able to provide it.
So it's possible you may notice lower prices on your ground beef in the coming months. But if you ask Whaley,
even after this 90 days, we're still going to have a short supply. We can't turn that cow herd around in that short of a time period. And I think that's one of the things I think people have to realize. It takes 2-3 years for us to get to that point where we're going to be able to meet that demand.
It's a
2 to 3 years.
Short-term solution at best.
Yeah, it's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid on this, guys. Like, you're not healing the wound. You're just putting a Band-Aid on it. Thomas Massie, of course, came after him for this. Trump's getting roasted today for his disastrous beef policy. The debt hit 40 trillion because of his big, beautiful bill. He stepped in it in Iran, and he's weeks away from failing his midterms in November. He posted this because we are the three he should have listened to. And he's talking about Donald Trump is coming after Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, and Thomas Massie yet again. Now, you guys know I disagree with Thomas Massie about the debt. Again, modern monetary theory tells you and explains that the debt ceiling is an actual myth. Congress, if they wanted to, they could fix this just by minting a coin. So if you talk to some of the MMT people, they explain this very well. A lot of these things can easily be fixed. Why are they not being fixed? Because our politicians are working for their paymasters. And speaking of paymasters, one of these countries has now been named, and that country is Argentina. So listen to what Donald Trump says here about helping the farmers in Argentina.
Question is, what do you have to say to U.S. farmers who feel that the deal is benefiting Argentina more than it is them, as they are
Argentina's fighting for its life, young lady. You don't know anything about it. They're fighting for their life. Nothing's benefiting Argentina. They're fighting for their life. You understand what that means? They have no money. They have no anything. They're fighting so hard to survive. If I can help them survive in a free world, I happen to like the president of Argentina. I think he's trying to do the best he can. But don't make it sound like they're doing great. They are dying. All right? They're dying. What do you mean?
So here is the president of the United States who ran on this America First agenda, letting you know that he cares more about the farmers in Argentina instead of the farmers here in the United States. According to him, he says that they are dying. I would double check that. He tells a lot of lies. But let me tell you what this is really about, okay? What else is happening in Argentina? Milei has a very close relationship with Benjamin Netanyahu. Zionism, we reported this before a couple of months ago, has already taken a foothold in Argentina. Peter Thiel, who is basically the puppet master of J.D. Vance, billionaire Peter Thiel just packed up his stuff and apparently moved to Argentina. So I'm telling you this to get you to understand it's not about those farmers in Argentina. Donald Trump is doing the bidding here of the Zionist entity. And that's what this is about. He is putting them first by putting Argentinian farmers first. He is helping out Israel. He is helping out Zionism. And that's what this is really about. That's who he working for. He not working for you. He not working for me. Why? What other country would put another country's farmers first before their own? Before their own, who would do that? We told you Zionism is taking a foothold in South America. Brazil will be next. They're going to come after Brazil next. But very much so. His relationship with Milei and Netanyahu, they're all like this. So instead of helping American workers, he's helping the Zionists out in Argentina. Unbelievable. And he said that just as plain as day. And people will still sit up there and they will still support him after him saying that. He don't care about you. This is also business decisions here for Donald Trump, as of course, he wants to make sure that he's looking out for his best interests, which includes the interests of the billionaire class, the Epstein class. And so when I see a Trump supporter say something like this, it makes me want to pull my hair out.
I want to support our president. He needs our support now more than ever because he's got a fight on his hands against communism, against liberal, far leftists. He's got to know that the American people still support him.
Wrong answer. The question should be, what have you done for me? And what have you done for me lately? Because to her, it is more important to help fight back against the communists. And she said foreign leftists, but she's going to totally miss the fact that Donald Trump just said very blatantly, let you know that the farmers in Argentina matter more than the farmers right here in the United States of America. I don't get this. That's why they're pushing that whole focus on communism thing, so that you're not paying attention to the economic situation, so that you're not paying attention to how Donald Trump is spending his money, how he's enriching himself during this entire presidency. And you're not paying attention to the fact that he is doing the bidding for another entity, not for the American people. But to her, I guess the more important threat is communism, not the Epstein class, though. Funny how that works. If you ask yourself this question, what have you done for me lately? When we're talking about the government, we're talking about politicians. If you can't answer that question, you got your answer. because they're looking out for the billionaire class. And Peter Thiel and Milei and Netanyahu and all that Zionist movement in Argentina, that is benefiting the billionaire class, the Epstein class. So if you were thinking about taking a break from red meat, I don't eat a lot of red meat anyway. If you were thinking about taking a break from it, now might be a good time. If you were thinking about becoming a vegetarian, now might be a good time. Because like I said, because they loosened the restrictions, you don't know what you may be getting. And I don't trust it. Just don't. One thing that you can do, if they're near you, is to help your local farmers. Help them. We have, local farmers here in Massachusetts. If you want to really help the farmers, try to go buy your ground beef directly from them. That's something you can do. All right, let's go to some of the comments here, ladies and gents, and then we'll get to the next one. Shout out to Measured Man for gifting 5 Sabby Sabs memberships. Thank you so much, Measured Man, and congrats to those of you who received them. Thank you, Helpful. Vegans know 1 pound of beef needs 2K gallons of water. Waste. Crystal said that is their game plan. Drain us dry before the collapse. Thank you, Roger. Get rid of IMUS. Number 1 for farmers to hire, which means they'll have to hire us. We cost too much. His solution, import beef. Solution, $45 federal minimum wage. Megan says the new trade war is going to hurt people on both sides of the border too. That's right. That's right. And thank you for this one, Roger. Peg to inflation, so minimum wage auto increases with it. Have the federal government offer permanent tax subsidies to small to mid-sized businesses, mom and pop shops, startup worker co-ops to cover 85 to 100% of labor costs. Well said, ladies and gents. Well said. All right. Smash that like button if you haven't done so. And let's move on into the next story. Again, we are asking that question. What have you done for us? And that question couldn't come from a better place right now than Gary, Indiana. If you haven't been paying attention to what is happening to Gary, Indiana, I mean, this is home of the Jackson family. At one point, Gary, Indiana was a booming, thriving city. When the jobs went, things fell down. And Gary, Indiana, right now, these residents are screaming at the rooftops because of a storm that came through. They have been without power for over a week. The kids have not been in school for about a week. And they're sitting around wondering, like, who is going to come and fix this? Now, there have been some things that have been done, but the things that I would say the local government is doing at this point in time, it doesn't make everybody whole again. It doesn't fix the situation. It's just like I said, when we were talking about Asheville, North Carolina. Like, I had a classmate that lived in Asheville, North Carolina. When that hurricane came through, they lost everything. And it's like you have to start all over again. So let's hear what the residents in Gary, Indiana are saying so that you can understand what is going on. There needs to be a federal emergency declared. But listen to this.
I've been out of power since Tuesday of last week, and I'm still sitting in the dark. I got my grandmother with me, so we have to go out, get our phone charged, get food. We have to throw away the food, trees in the lawn.
Communities of color are left behind and always feel like they're the last to get turned on or the last to get rescued in these situations.
It's not okay for us to continually be in survival mode. We need to have a light at the end of the tunnel.
It's been pretty rough.
Well, more than a week and a half after devastating storms swept through Indiana, killing at least 7 people, thousands are still without power. Utility crews working around the clock, but the thousands of lingering outages remain concentrated in the northwestern part of the state. And ground zero of the outages is centered in Michael Jackson's hometown of Gary, Indiana. Utility company NIPSCO says some 40,000 in the region could remain in the dark until sometime next week.
So again, we're starting to see remnants of what we saw before, right? Like with Katrina, with Asheville, North Carolina. We're talking about, like, people have to understand when you don't have power for that long of a time, which is absolutely ridiculous, you have a refrigerator that is full of food. All of that food is going to spoil. There's only so much that you can do to preserve the food. We just told you how expensive the grocery prices are right now. So that's money that went to waste. Now, I want to explain some of the things that have been done, but there's more that needs to be done. So one of the things is this, and shout out to someone sent this to me. So listen to this. There is assistance, but it is not the same thing as everyone being made whole. The YWCA has provided shelter, meals, and charging. The Monroe Center has emergency shelter. Community organizations are distributing groceries and meals. And Gary's City Life Center has been providing 3 meals a day. Indiana has opened emergency grants of up to $5,000 for eligible households. Gary has also received $100,000 from Glenn Robinson and $100,000 from the Hard Rock Casino, specifically for food, hydration, hygiene, cleaning, and debris removal assistance. Listen to this part, though. FEMA's existing emergency declaration includes Lake County, but this is important. That initial declaration primarily supports emergency governmental response and direct federal assistance. Indiana has now sought a broader major disaster declaration, which is the pathway towards substantially greater long-term federal recovery assistance. Accountability questions are growing. There's been a class action lawsuit filed against NIPSCO, NIPSCO, alleging inadequate vegetation management contribute to the scale and duration of the outages. Here's something else I want to mention about this storm. Now, this storm hit, and apparently, one of the things that's being said here is that this was not an ordinary storm. The winds were said to be at about 99 miles per hour, and it tore through Gary and Northwest Indiana. So we're talking about trees that have been uprooted. We're talking about utility infrastructure that has been damaged, homes flooded. Obviously, as you guys can understand, there is a lot that needs to be done. And the reason why I'm explaining this is that this is not something that a $750 check from FEMA is going to fix. And these disasters, they happen, and we hear about it at that time, but then we never hear, later on what happened to the people. Like, from what I understand from my former classmate in Asheville, North Carolina, people still are without homes. You don't hear about, what happened in Lahaina to the residents in Lahaina in Hawaii anymore either. So like when your home is flooded, that's a wrap. There's no saving. You can't salvage that. Donald Trump hasn't said anything about this. And I'm willing to bet you if something like this would have happened in Beverly Hills, for example, something would have been done immediately. So the lack of response from the federal government, this is intentional. I've been trying to explain to you guys before, they want these communities to fall. There are a number of investors that take advantage of these situations. When they have a natural disaster that comes through, they come in, buy up the land because now it's really cheap to buy because it's destroyed. They buy up the land and then they do this revitalization project like they did in Louisiana, in New Orleans after Katrina. They rebuild, but what they rebuild is now unaffordable for the people who actually grew up in those towns. This is important. So we can't sleep on what's happening in Gary, Indiana, because this happens all over the country. And these people can be forgotten about or they can be pushed out depending on what happens to the land afterwards.
News Nation correspondent Alex Capriello is live for us there in Gary. So, Alex, what is the situation there?
Yeah, Nicole, it's been 10 days since this storm hit Gary, Indiana, and scenes just like this one are playing out all across the city. You see these downed trees and the downed power lines that still need to be cleaned up. The result is tens of thousands of people that live here in this city still without power.
I mean, just at all of the years of my life, I've never seen this much devastation, this much damage.
New numbers from the Northern Indiana Public Service Company, also known as NIPSCO, show around 43,000 customers are still without power. 16,000 of those are in Gary, including Gary Mayor Eddie Melton. Melton has repeatedly voiced his frustrations with NIPSCO, saying the utility company needs to do more to restore power to his city. His administration has now requested additional utility crews and linemen to help speed up recovery efforts.
Just imagine someone with medical conditions, individuals that haven't been able to talk to family members around the country, reaching out, wondering how they're doing. So this is frightening for a lot of folks.
And many Gary residents are taking their frustrations straight to social media, calling for more help and questioning why it's taking so long to restore power.
Like a horror movie out here.
Some are also alleging that Gary's racial demographics are playing a role in how quickly resources are reaching the community. Thousands of residents are now taking legal action against NIPSCO. A lawsuit filed against NIPSCO claims this damage and the power outages could have been prevented if the utility company had better managed the vegetation and trees that grows around the power lines.
They have to be accountable to the people they've harmed, physically, financially, whatever. They would like to blame it on an untoward weather event. Well, we know there's going to be weather events every year.
Yeah, we know there's going to be weather events, but people need to start questioning these weather events. They become very frequent and they're hitting certain areas. Like, I don't hear about these weather events just, ended up with miles and miles of damage in rich neighborhoods for some reason. It seems like the disaster always tends to happen in the lower income areas. We were just talking about this with the earthquakes in Venezuela, and then boom, right after that, it was the earthquakes in Colombia and all this type of stuff, So we really have to think about what is going on here. It just seems like to me, this disaster seems to happen in areas where people tend to be lower income. Now, you imagine sitting up there and not having power for this long. That's insane. All the food has gone to waste. And another thing, because he mentioned medical issues. What about people that rely on electricity for a medical issue? What about like sleep apnea? People who have to plug in their sleep apnea machine and they have to use that so that they can continue to breathe while they're sleeping. So electricity is a problem. It's insane.
At the end of the day, it's NIPSCO. And unless we hold them to account, they're not going to change.
Relief is also coming from the state. Governor Mike Braun requested an expedited disaster declaration from FEMA and brought in the National Guard to help communities recover. The emergency declaration will allow impacted Hoosiers to receive up to $5,000 in recovery assistance.
Many of us that believe in God and believe that our faith is what helps us endure these storms, I truly believe that this is going to make us stronger at the end.
Yeah, it will, because everybody's, without at this point in time. So they'll become stronger, as a community, because you guys have had so much taken away from you. $5,000 doesn't replace a home. Remember that. So if the house was flooded, that is generational wealth that is gone. I want you to hear from some of the other residents as well. Like I said, what is happening in Gary, Indiana is intentional. The lack of response is intentional.
We know why they not coming out here though. I mean, it's obvious, it's obvious. Gary is full of, us, diversity. Yeah. Not really diversity, but it's full of black people. Yeah. We the blackest city out here. So they don't want to check on us.
Yeah. They're NIPSCO. Everybody pays them. We don't pay, we get cut off. But when disaster happens, they want to charge us X amount of dollars, but we already paying into this. They got billions, trillions of dollars. We working day to day on paychecks. So yes, they could have did better. They got the money. We don't got the money. They say they supposed to maintenance that yearly. They haven't been out here in a year or two, maybe 3 years.
That's what I mean when I say it's intentional. This is why you got to hear directly from the residents. If they know that they're supposed to maintain, they're supposed to have that maintenance every 1 to 2 years, and she's telling you they have not been out there in years, that means they're allowing it to fall. They're allowing the decline to happen. This is the same thing that I covered this before that happens here in Boston. And a lot of these apartment buildings where people are complaining that the roof is falling apart and there's the black mold. You guys saw me cover this stuff before on the ground. They let it fall apart on purpose. That's intentional so that they can get you out to the point where it's no longer livable. They get you out. Investors come in, they buy up what is now very cheap, and they build what they want there. So keep an eye on Gary, Indiana. I would not be surprised that this is a next spot for increased gentrification. This is how it works.
I can't sleep at night because I can't plug my sleep apnea machine up. I can't afford a generator. I'm working on a month salary. So therefore, we need them to either give us generators or get this power up and running. We got a 91-year-old man that lived at the end, almost at the end of the thing. They had to rush him to the hospital. We had an elder lady across the street. She had medical condition. She bedridden. People come out to help her also. So we really need them to work more faster because we don't want to lose no lives if we don't have to. Our governor needs to get his butt out here and see the damage. You going in these other neighborhoods, you need to go through the whole city of Gary. We do see people.
So do you hear that? The governor isn't even around.
We're trying to give out free food and, just give back. The community definitely is doing something with the giving back. They've been giving away free food, especially at the Y here. They've been giving out free food to us in showers, hot showers. So it's definitely good that we all coming together finally.
So it's good that they're giving out the food and they're doing the hot showers and everything. But like I said, none of this replaces the wealth that has been lost.
We just need more coverage for sure. We need to come together as a community and get it together. We won't be struggling as bad as just one person just struggling. If all come together, we'll be good. Something like this, they giving out free water, free cakes, and famous people here and stuff. We need that. We definitely need that.
Yeah, I'll cut it out here because of the music, but I want to show you another one here too. Because again, I want you to hear from different residents about what has been happening there. So at this point right now, they don't even know if the power is going to be back on. They're alleging that maybe Tuesday this week will be back on. But as you can see, it's been almost 2 weeks.
I cannot believe no one is over here helping Gary.
Thousands of people in Gary, Indiana have been without power since August 11th.
The National Weather Service informed us that Gary faced the strongest winds, which reached 99 miles per hour.
Did you catch that? That out of all the places there that were hit by the storm, Gary, Indiana faced the largest, the strongest winds. They got the more severity of the storm. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys.
Equivalent to a Category 2 hurricane.
All the power is out, as far as I know, all across Gary, Indiana.
They're losing food. Homes are getting warmer.
They do not have money, and some of the cards aren't even working. I ran into some ladies that had children, and my heart broke.
My name's Aja, and I'm going on day 7 of having no power in one of Indiana's worst blackouts and one of the highest crime cities in Indiana.
NIPSCO, the company that services 100% of customers in Gary, are now saying that it may be until next Tuesday until many people get power back.
We're on day 9 of no power in Gary, Indiana.
My neighbor across the street, my teacher down two streets down, we have no air in here.
Schools are closed. Families are throwing away spoiled food. People are driving to Illinois just to find ice for insulin.
I am from Gary, Indiana. I was born there, raised there until I was about 8 years old. My family is from there and people still live there. And many people are telling me that they still don't have power. They have trees on top of their homes. One of my cousins sent me this video of a grocery store completely decimated, food spoiled. This is also where the city gave people vouchers to, $150 of vouchers. But this was the only place that they could use the vouchers.
I, for one, have not seen anybody else outside of Gary, Indiana talk about what's going on in Gary, Indiana.
We'll get to him because he's trying to do something. I think this is the same guy doing something really good for them. But Guys, it's intentional. It's not, there's no mystery to it. We see this happen all too often. And I'm thinking about the elderly. I'm thinking about, like that woman that was speaking earlier, elderly people that, maybe somebody has been helping them. Maybe they have a caretaker. I'm thinking about them. Like, what are they supposed to do? And it's summertime still. So it's probably really hot. Someone mentioned in the chat, imagine if it was winter. Yeah, think about that. Think about that for a second. Now, some people are coming through though, because like I said, there's some local help that is happening there from the state, but the state, they only give so much. I didn't seen this happen before. They only do so much. So one of them, Keith Lee and Tyrese Halliburton, they're throwing an event in Gary, Indiana to really help the people. So listen to what he said here. This is where, remember what I told you, in the end, do not praise or worship politicians, and that in the end, we help us. This is where the community comes in.
Okay, I got an update. Gary, Indiana has been without power for the last 9 days, and nobody was talking about it, and I thought it was crazy, so I made a video, and God willingly, people talking about it. With that being said, we got an announcement. We are teaming up with not only the Salvation Army, but the city of Gary, Indiana, to throw an event Monday. The exact location and time will be shared on my story when we get close. But for now, I can tell y'all what we're going to have at the event. So my family and Salvation Army will both be bringing trucks full of supplies. And it's not only just my family and the Salvation Army. Tyrese Halliburton found out what we was doing, and he matching our contribution. God is amazing. So we're going to have supplies. We're going to have a DJ that's provided directly by the city of Gary. And I got over 1,000 messages of restaurants and food trucks and people who sell food that want to get involved. So we're going to open it up for everybody who want to contribute. So if you are a food truck or a restaurant that would like to contribute, you can reach out to this email and we can coordinate it. And also, if you want to contribute and send supplies, which again, I had over 1,000 people that said they want to do it, you can send it to this address. And if you want to volunteer with us, you can go to this website, thesalvationarmy.org, and you can sign up to be a volunteer. And I know it's not turning the power on, but it is a place for community. If you want some supplies or you need some supplies, come get some. If you want some food or you need some food, come get some.
Let's go! This is what we help us. The government will fail you time and time again. Politicians will fail you time and time again. But this is where mutual aid comes in to help the people. And no, it's not everything. He's not going to be able to provide everything. But people are doing what they can do to try to help in some way, shape, or form. Because like I said, that assistance and aid that they get from the state is not enough. So this is where community comes through. He's not alone. Someone I know who has been on the show before, Jamal Green came from Chicago. Today, we showed up for our family in Gary. Together, we distributed hundreds of hot meals, flashlights, batteries, diapers, and other essentials to families impacted by the power outages. Check this out. Special thanks to Chicago's home of chicken and waffles, Chicago Food on the Run, and everyone who helped make today possible. We'll play a little bit of it. Can't play the whole thing because there's music that comes in. But this is Jamal Green. He's a real one. He does get out there and help the people. He came all the way from Chicago.
Hey, we are here in Gary. As I told y'all, we was pulling up. I called a lot of my friends who said, hey, we got to support. One of them here, like a father, to me, the owner of Chicken and Waffles in Chicago, brought some amazing food. We ain't bring no slop. We're talking about, chicken, macaroni. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what you got. You're going to eat good.
We'll have to mute it because of the music, but it says, they didn't just bring like bread and little sandwiches and stuff like that. Like they brought real good, yummy food. So I want you guys to see how they came from Chicago to help out the people. And again, see how it doesn't have to be fancy, guys. When you're doing this type of thing, you're doing mutual aid. You just set up a couple tables and you go forward. And I got to say this, and kudos to Jamal and the gentleman of the owner of the chicken and waffles place that came with them. Because sometimes when these things happen and people say, we're going to go give the people food, a lot of times it's bottles of water, which water is needed. Yes. But a lot of times it's like let's make some sandwiches. Let's get bread and some lunch meat and things like that. No, they showed up with real home cooked food. And that's what I'm talking about, doing a freaking solid. That's what you do. That's what you do. And that's how you get out there and you help the people. So we are going to drop the beat for Jamal because, again, this is what community building is all about. Drop the beat. Dance with me. Dance with me. Drop the beat. In the street. All right. All right. That's what I'm saying, guys. We have the power. We have the power. Thank you. Thank you to Jamal. Thank you to Keith. Thank you to everybody who showed up to help. We help us. So, to people who are going to be asking people to vote, because November is around the corner, believe it or not. Before you go waving your finger and your hands at people in Gary, Indiana, you need to think about what have you done for them lately. You need to think about those things. People remember those who come and help. So if you weren't there, and if you weren't there, you weren't present, you should not go to them expecting them to owe you anything. That's important. Remember that. Eric, we can go to part 2. Thank you. Let's go to some of the comments here. Thank you for the super chat, Ariel. Sab, I love your content and insights. Thank you, Ariel. Vic said, losing refrigerators full of food. Exactly. All that food gone to waste. Thank you, Measured Man. I don't recall them natural disaster anymore. They are man-made, in my opinion. Thank you, Roger. Solar batteries to power homes built to scale to be completely off the grid, powering the home for 6 months to a year on one charge. Moses West atmospheric water generator is what's needed. Good point. Susanna said they want them gone permanently. Exactly. Love Cat said, is there lithium? Good question. Is there resources there buried beneath? Thank you, Kinman. Even Ray Charles can see that America is cooked. And thank you, Davos. It says, Sabby, I'm not too far from Gary. In certain blocks, power has been out and even traffic light off for years. All of this is very intentional. There you go. And thank you, Roger. Graphene sourced from hemp is longer lasting than lithium. They can put in those batteries. They can be put in those batteries. Thank you so much for that. All right. Based. Okie dokie. Let's go to the next story, ladies and gents. Make sure you're sitting down for this one. It was just reported Sunday morning that Hakeem Jeffries has met with Jared Kushner. They had a meeting, which is really interesting considering Hakeem Jeffries doesn't even want to meet with some of those DSA winners, the ones that won some of those primaries. He doesn't seem to have time to sit down and meet with them, but he has time to sit down and meet with Jared Kushner. Now, hold on to that, because this is all going to make sense in just a second when we talk about who's really leading things and who's really in control. We have been seeing there's some stuff going on. After Angie Nixon just won this Democratic primary in Florida, this race for Marco Rubio's seat, corporate media has been incredibly hostile towards her. So I'm going to show you what just happened recently on CNN. And I want to remind you, they have not even been this way towards Benjamin Netanyahu. But I want you to pay attention to the way that they treated her after she won. Listen to this. This is recent.
Given all of that you've just said, Hakeem Jeffries, who would be in line to be Speaker of the House, recently said he doesn't support Medicare for all. He's not on that bill anymore. He used to be. Is he wrong?
Right.
Why is the leadership? Do Democrats have the right leaders here in Washington?
He is absolutely wrong. How can you all of a sudden change the tune? And I'll tell you how you change the tune. When your corporate donors
So should he
decide
not be
to
speaker?
give you more money so that you won't.
Let me stop. Notice how she interrupted her so quickly? Because Angie Nixon said that Hakeem is wrong. Notice how she interrupted her so quickly? They don't give that type of energy towards Benjamin Netanyahu when they interview him on CNN. And this guy has killed hundreds of thousands of people. Children, babies. You see how more hostile they are towards her? Let's go on.
You know, that is up to the Congress people. I'm running for U.S. Senate.
Well, what about Chuck Schumer? Should he be the majority leader if Democrats take back the Senate?
You know, I think I would possibly be looking elsewhere when I become the next United States Senator in regards to leadership. And I mean, we need to make sure that we have people who are centered on people, who are working for people, right? And so again,
do you think Schumer is going to support your campaign? Do you expect?
Look at this. So I want you to see this type of energy. So this woman here has a frown on her face the entire time, right? Now, they don't have this type of energy towards the Zionists. They don't have this type of energy towards the mass murderers. Hell, CNN, which is supposed to be left leaning, they don't have this type of energy towards conservatives that they bring onto CNN. Now, this all ties back into Hakeem Jeffries just having that meeting with Jared Kushner, because I want you to understand the game that is being played. They are more lenient. They are more willing to collaborate with people that are conservative than they are towards members of their own party that are to the left of them. Do you get what I'm saying? This is establishment. That's why Hakeem and Jared Kushner may be a part of two different political parties, but at the end of the day, they both have the same common goal. They both support the status quo. They both are Zionist. They're not for the people. So anyone like Angie, who is actually out there feeding and clothing people, who does mutual aid, they're going to be harder against her. This is the game that is being played. So first they said she couldn't win. Then she did win. Now they're mad that she won. And so this is how they've been treating her all across corporate media.
Democrats in Washington to send money to help you win?
I actually have Democrats in Washington already sending me money and already agreeing
the DSCC,
to campaign
have they committed to go on the air for you in a big way?
Who did you say? The DSCC?
The DSCC.
No, I haven't heard from. No, actually our campaign is supposed to have a conversation with them sometime this week. But I want to be clear, because a lot of people, this is my introduction to them. I am someone who is a former vice chair of a Democratic executive committee in Duval County. I also worked for the state party, the Florida Democratic Party, as a political director and a field director. I'm also a union organizer. I'm also someone who is not ashamed or afraid to vote against my caucus if it's not if it's not benefiting hardworking everyday people. I'm also okay with voting against Republicans. It's not about that. It's about the people for me.
And that's the problem. That's why they don't like her, because it's about the people. So do you see what I mean? You see the problem? Like I said, they don't even interrupt Benjamin Netanyahu that way. Check this out. Stop gaslighting me. Florida Democrat Senate nominee and party chair have heated call over socialism. So I'm going to show you guys what's already happening right down the pipeline. Nixon, a member of the Democratic Socialists of America who won the primary in a shocking upset over Alex Vindman earlier this week, expressed frustrations to Freed that she had not received sufficient help from the state party. Freed, in return, warned Nixon that the ties to the DSA could give an opening for the GOP to attack her. According to two people who spoke with Nixon, both she and Freed yelled at each other. It's either Freed or Fried, yelled at each other during the call. Another person who spoke to Fried said the chair did not yell, but was yelled at. Nikki wants her to back away from DSA, from socialism, said one person who spoke with Nixon. She's listening to other people saying that they're afraid, they're scared. The Jewish members and the Hispanic caucus. But to Angie, Nikki doesn't want Angie to be who Angie is. Angie has already done the backing away. On the call, Nixon told Fried, "You never gave a care about me from the beginning, and now you're telling me how to run my campaign." At one point, the source said Nixon yelled, "Stop gaslighting me." So everybody see this? You see what's happening, right? Like I said, they fight harder against those running those populist policies than they do against those that are aligned with Donald Trump. They actually give Trump a chance. And we'll get to that as well in just a second. Now, let me fast forward to Michigan because I'm going to show you how this game is played. In Michigan, you are starting to see Representative, her name is Karen Wissett. She is a part of this coalition called Democrats for Mike Rogers. So these people got aligned. They're supposed to be Democrats. I'm going to tell you why she really isn't. They're supposed to be Democrats, but they have decided, they already got a Twitter page. They decided to align together to support Mike Rogers, to support the Republican. But they're supposed to be Democrats against El Sayed. So now they're out there gaslighting people about Medicare for all and using the same talking points that were used back in 2016 and 2020, telling people they're going to steal your health care. And of course, they got Miss Wissett here, front and center. Listen.
I do not want to lose my Blue Cross Blue Shield. My husband is operating engineers, and I want my health insurance. I do not think people really realize what is on the line. You will lose your health insurance if the other candidate gets in office.
Medicare is insurance. And this is how Americans just go to show you, man, we've got to do better in this country. This is how Americans show you just how dumb we can be. People have Medicare in this country. Yes. Is it Medicare health insurance? Yes. Medicare pays 80%. There's a 20% co-insurance. And then some of the people who are on Medicare, they have another plan that backs up and picks up that 20% co-insurance. So if somebody says that they are supporting and running on Medicare for all, why in the hell would you believe that that's not health care? Karen Wissett, she knows better. She knows this. This woman is a plant. So they got people who are part of the Democratic Party, who I see as plants, that are out there campaigning for the Republican Party. Don't you? Didn't I tell you? Didn't I tell you that they would rather have Trump in? Didn't I tell you that they would rather have a Trump-like figure win than to support the people who are a part of their party that are to their left? All doing the bidding of their donors.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is what Medicare for all means. So if you enjoy going to ER now and sitting for 6 hours, get ready to enjoy that a whole lot longer because you may be sitting there for 6 weeks. That means you will be in a clinic, in a hospital, wherever they say that you go. Once again, you say you don't want government in your business. Well, the government will be controlling your health care.
Okay, well, then everybody who's 65, give away Medicare then. You see the logic with this? So if that's the case, everyone who's 65 and over, give your Medicare back. Let it go. Let it go. Plants.
They will control your doctors. They will control your medication. They will control your visits. They will control everything. So if for no other reason, common sense prevails that Mike Rogers is the candidate for you. I do not want to lose.
Here she is, the Democrat out there starting this coalition to help Mike Rogers win. Can we just say this? Boo this woman. Boo. Boo. Now, I will show you why she's a plant. Check this out. Bam, bam, bam. In 2025, this same woman said she was done with the Democratic Party. This is Karen Wissett. This is who she is. Okay? Now, she said that she was done with the Democratic Party. She went on to Fox News. See, I remember she went on to Fox News and she went on there and she spoke to Faulkner and she cited what she called a Democratic disconnect from voters after they refused to reevaluate key issues after the November 5th election. We've all had our criticism of the Democratic Party as well. That includes seeing the state's 15 electoral votes go to President-elect Donald Trump and voters subduing the Michigan Democratic majority with a flip in the state house. But this woman, okay, she was just with Donald Trump. This is what people don't get, okay? So she said this back in 2025. But check this out. She has a working relationship with newly installed House Speaker Matt Hall, who's Republican, and previously met with Donald Trump. And she met with Donald Trump during the height of the pandemic lockdowns in Michigan. So this is another person I point to, another politician who is basically a Republican with a D in front of their name. She's a plant. And now she has this coalition where she said, we are Democrats for Mike Rogers. She's not a Democrat. Don't fall for this. It's propaganda. This is what they do. And they're doing it because when you have something like this, Hakeem Jeffries and Jared Kushner meet privately as midterm attacks fly. President Trump's son-in-law and the man in line to be Speaker of the Democrat-led House discuss how Democrats and the administration could work together. First of all, that's bullshit. And let me explain to you what that really means. All right, let's put these fools up on the screen. Peep this, fam. James Lee put out a video recently. You should watch it. The title of that video is Jared Kushner Mossad? Watch it. Jared Kushner is a private citizen. Jared Kushner is not a government official. How does Jared Kushner get to so quickly meet with Hakeem Jeffries, but Hakeem Jeffries is not willing to meet with some of the members of his own party? You see this here? There is no working together. They didn't get together and say, let's collaborate on how we can help things. It's bullshit. Let me tell you what it really means. What this means is that when the vote is cast for Hakeem Jeffries to be Speaker of the House, he is not going to be the actual speaker. Hakeem Jeffries will be the puppet. He's the face. The real Speaker of the House will be Jared Kushner. He's the one behind the curtain that'll be pulling the strings. This is how big money and power works. Both of these two are Zionists. If Jared Kushner pulls you aside and has a meeting with you, it's not for the benefit of the working class. This man is trying to take away land all across the country. So it's not for the benefit of the workers. It's for control. Jared Kushner is meeting with Hakeem Jeffries because he's going to be the one to tell Hakeem, don't you bring that bill to the floor for a vote. Anything that has to do with Israel, it better be a yes. And if it's uncertain, don't bring it there. Oh, they want to entertain Medicare for all bill. Don't you bring that to the floor for a vote, or you're out of there. I'll see it that you lose your reelection and you will no longer be Speaker of the House and your political career will be done. These are the conversations that happen behind the scenes. You can't play me, Hakeem. You can't fool me. This is exactly why, and I said it back then and I stand on it now. This is exactly why Hakeem Jeffries should have been removed. This is exactly why he should have had a fucking challenger. He should have had several challengers going against him. So when AOC tells you, I'm working with Hakeem because he promised to do something for housing, Hakeem ain't doing what you want to do, AOC. Hakeem is going to do what Mr. Kushner tells him to. He don't work for you. He works for him, regardless of the party. Now I'm going to sit back and I'm going to wait and I'm going to see how many people still try to run cover for Hakeem and make an excuse as to why he needs to be there. I'm going to wait. And if you come to me with, well, he's black and could be the first black speaker, get out of my face. That's a wrap. Jared Kushner will be the Speaker of the House. You can meet with him, but you can't meet with your own constituents. You can meet with him, but you can't meet with the members who just beat out the Zionists. Oh, I ain't got time. My schedule's kind of hectic. Let's make a hip hop holiday. This is how it works. Hakeem Jeffries is going to be doing the bidding of the Trump administration to make it look fair. They're going to let him slide with some things to make it look like it's actually a fight. There is no fight. He's not against him. He's with him. And you pass that on to your friends. They're on the same team. A lot of people are attacking Hakeem right now on social media, and rightfully so. I don't say this often. I'm saying it now. I told you so. All the people who tried to give credit. So when you see the media that's taking place, when you see the way corporate media is going after Angie Nixon, when you see the way that this group just pops up out of nowhere saying Democrats for Mike Rogers, this is all coordinated. All of it. What you should be asking is, if you ever speak to Hakeem, what have you done for me lately? The answer is nothing. And that tells you everything you need to know. Let's go to the comments here, ladies and gents, and we'll get to the next story. Now we're going to get to something funny. It's Sunday Fun Day. We got to have some fun too. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Ariel. Memphis got hit with a severe thunderstorm last night with wind speeds between 60 to 90 miles per hour. There are still thousands without power, and they might not have it until this Thursday, or it might be next week. Yeah, those storms in Tennessee are pretty vicious too. Shout out to Pseudo Notice, who just became a member. Let's give Pseudo a big whoop whoop. Skylar said, I think what she means is people will lose private health care coverage. It's the same lies they said when fighting Obamacare. And thank you, Roger. Medicare for All for Michigan, is sitting on the shelf in Michigan Senate Health Committee, waiting to be ran as a CBI. Ratifying breaks their argument against Medicare for All. There you go. Good time to run those ballot measures. Thank you, One Up. Jeffries is finally auditioning for the role he actually wants. Jared's junior leasing agent. Ding, ding, ding. There you go. There you go. All right. Let's get some Fetish said Salvati coming for his and her next. It just pisses me off how people don't see this. It pisses me off. Let's get to the next story here. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Apparently, I guess Alex Jones and Tim Pool are pissed off at each other. This is hilarious, though. Alex Jones is officially challenging Tim Pool, challenging him to a fight. What is this all about? It's hilarious, guys. We got to have some laughs here, okay?
I challenge you, Tim, to trial by combat. You will wear the blue and white and the Star of David. I will wear the red, white, and blue. I'm calling out Netanyahu's champion. I'm demanding trial by combat publicly. If you fail, Israel must withdraw from trying to take over the U.S. government and get out of the NDAA and stop the war. If you win, we launch nuclear weapons and destroy the entire planet to bring back the Messiah. Tim Pool, the ball is in your court.
So for people who are not aware, Alex Jones and Tim Pool have been going back and forth because Alex Jones is saying that Tim Pool is supporting the war with Iran. Tim Pool is disagreeing with that. And Tim Pool was saying that Alex Jones is basically bought and paid for. It's funny coming from Tim Pool. But here we go here. Tim Pool said, we often ask why it was the media kept lying about us. Why did they claim I lied about ivermectin, Burisma, the 2020 election? Alex is on the payroll, making the same moves. He can lie about my views to his audience all day, but it just serves to destroy his legacy. It's just funny because this coming from Tim Pool of all people. Remember, it was outed that Tim Pool was among some of those creators that were getting that money from Russia through tenant media and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's just like, dude, you can't really talk here. But this is where a lot of this is coming from. We'll get to that Alex Jones segment there in just a second. He said, Alex Jones is lying about everything. It's odd. It seems like something changed on a dime. So let's get into Beanie Dude.
Alex Jones is overtly lying about everything. And this to me is odd. He's aligned himself with Tucker. He's got a picture of him and Tucker with Candace. And it seems like something changed on a dime. I'll give you some examples. Let me pull this up. Here's Alex Jones saying Tim Pool just endorsed the Iran war again. Oh, hold on there. Anybody who's watched my show knows that literally yesterday, my 10 a.m. segment was me saying, we've depleted our SPR. This is a massive failure. Just is. Trump's not going to tell us the truth about it. The reason that he's doing it, it's this global energy dominance plan. So why would Alex Jones put out a lie? I just find it weird. Let me see what else we have from Alex as we're getting into all this. There's the weird Chris Martinson stuff. Also very, very weird, to be completely honest. I don't know where the I haven't been tweeting at every single thing. He's saying that admitted I took money from the Russians. That's a lie. He's saying that I secretly met with Netanyahu. Also a lie.
No, it's not a lie about the money from tenant media. Yes, you did meet with Netanyahu, which he does say here. So maybe not secretly, but I feel like it was kind of secretly until, people kind of came after you for it.
He says, you're on the record taking money from the Russians and meeting secretly with Netanyahu. So here's the thing that I bring up. Alex knows full well that none of that is true. He's already had probably 700 tweets at him where after I met with Netanyahu in April of 2025, as I'm walking out of the Blair House, I tweeted, I just had a meeting with Netanyahu. And we'll discuss everything that he said. To which we did. He was advocating for war with Iran. He was trying to lobby American media to support it. Half the room really didn't want to do it. I specifically stated that support for Israel was cooked, that the young people are not going to get behind it, either because you've got a right wing that doesn't want to fund Israel and a left wing that outright hates Israel.
Why were you, Tim Pool, as an American commentator, giving this type of tidbit or advice to Benjamin Netanyahu, who is the leader of another country? Why were you doing that? Why were you even meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu? Nobody seems to have a problem with this. Why were you meeting with someone who was committing a genocide? Huh? I mean, it's just, hey, I got my critique of Alex Jones too. But why were you meeting with this genocidal monster? And then telling him what people are feeling on the ground here in the United States. Why were you there? He seems to think there was nothing wrong with that.
And that was the meeting.
Yeah. That's what we know was with the meeting, what you told. So Alex Jones says with zero evidence to back up his outrageous claim, Tim Pool is now claiming that I've been paid to attack him. So here we go.
Okay, so I woke up this morning without even looking for it. It pops up in my feed. Tim Pool saying that I got a check and I'm on somebody's payroll and I'm being paid to attack him. No, I'm sick of Tim Pool's backhanded, smarmy things he says about me over the years. He acts like he's a friend. He thinks he's smarter than everybody. And then he came out when there was a glitch on X affecting all live streaming and said that I'd lost my audience because I was criticizing Trump. Trump is super unpopular. So that's just total spin. So I said maybe, he got paid by Netanyahu. He's the one who meets in secret with him. And then he spun it. Oh, no, I told everybody I met with him. When it came out that it was a secret meeting in the Israeli news.
That's the part that Tim Pool forgets, which is that, or maybe he doesn't forget it, but I remember he didn't tell everybody that he met with Benjamin Netanyahu until it was already leaked that he did. Then he told people about it. It's just like Tim Pool thinks that people just forget. This was not that long ago.
And then you said it was Chatham House rules. The details were secret. A secret meeting with secret details. So I said, are you on the payroll? He is saying that I am on somebody's payroll, but he won't say whose payroll that I'm on. Lord, it's bright out here, put my sunglasses on. He, multitasking here. Kids, don't try this at home. So, that's the reality. I had a mountain here, but it doesn't work very good. So this is just getting ridiculous. Have I maybe overdone it a little bit going after him? Yeah. I mean, it's obvious when I'm being tongue-in-cheek and screwing around and joking about his beanie and stuff. And, bare knuckles boxing. If he actually wants to do it, I'll do it. I'm actually kind of scared and hope he doesn't take me up on it. Please, Tim, don't do it. Please don't. I'll probably just have a heart attack in the first 10 seconds. But if I survive more than 30 seconds, you're in deep trouble, pal. So, why my day, sonny? But, look, long story short, I was being a bit good-natured about it at first, but then I got a little mean, and now I woke up this morning at about 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, oh, maybe I went too far. Maybe I should an olive branch, and then made my daughter breakfast, got her off to school, and fired up the computer, and my God, you got a lot of balls, dude. He says, I got a check. It's clear, I got a check. Well, I'd sure like to know who I got a check from. Only government I've ever taken money from is the U.S. government. And there's a big controversy when the Air Force bought ads on YouTube, so the Marine Corps.
So the thing is this. Let's say he did get a check. So did Tim Pool. That's the part that is funny to me, as though he's acting as though like it wasn't revealed that, yes, you got the money. You got the money, Tim. So you can't speak as though you are, I don't know, the mightier person on this issue.
That's right before I got banned in 2018. And I'm banned basically everywhere but X and Real Alex Jones and Rumble. As folks know it, The Alex Jones Show Live. It's kind of a long handle. We got about 700,000 followers on there. That's our news site. And we're under total attack. Everybody knows it. I mean, they even had the deep state take over, InfoWars. They failed to get the name itself big enough on that front. And then here's this guy who rides the fence. It appears when you watch him closer, he is putting out the Israeli talking points. And I'm sick of having to be on Israel all the time. Got a lot of other fish to fry, but Israel is trying to fully control our country right now, and it's bull. So I'll be on the air today, 11 a.m. Central. You can find me at Real Alex Jones on X, and AlexJonesLive.com is our news site, AlexJonesLive.com.
Let's get to the other one. So that's him driving, but then there was this video where he did call this out. He said Tim Pool just endorsed the war with Iran again. So this is the video that Tim Pool was referring to.
So Tim Pool came out tonight, and he said that Trump is playing 5,000 D chess, trillion D chess, that the whole Iran war is about cutting off Chinese energy, and it's about cutting off the Belt and Road Initiative, the IMEC corridor. And at one level, that's actually true. Yes, that's one argument, but if you look at that in economics, what the economic experts say, it's a very small piece of it. What's really happened during this 170 plus day disastrous war is it's driven all these major countries into the BRICS, and the dollar is at an all-time low, and they've had to start quantitative easing again, and the Treasury's had to double the amount of U.S. bonds that it buys. And the U.S. is on the verge of having a major credit rating downgrade. Trump had a great economic plan. We were on the verge of bankruptcy when he got in. The Great Reset was here, and his plan was excellent. That's why I supported it. And now he's totally gone against that. And when he gets asked, hey, what about the horrible problems, of economic problems for Americans? He goes, I don't care about any Americans. I don't care about their peril. I care about the war. I'm a war president. That's basically an exact quote.
Well, I just want to interject here and say Trump's plan was always to benefit the billionaire class, but he knew that wouldn't help him win. So basically, when he was running for office, he's like, let me try this populist kind of message again and let them know I'm going to look out for the workers and all that kind of stuff. It worked the first time. Let's see if it works this time around. And so that's what he ran on. And he said he was going to fix the economy and that he was going to end the wars and all that type of jazz, right? Even though he was still implementing strikes. He killed Soleimani under his first presidency. I don't know why people forget these things, because I sure as hell didn't. Now, so he tricked people. He tricked people. And some people believed him. And Alex Jones he came later, but he's one of the ones that has come forward more recently criticizing Trump and saying he can't support him and he needs to be impeached, etc. And Tim Pool is still trying to ride the Trump wave or whatever is left of that. And so that's what's really happening here. But Tim Pool did support this war. He supported, he defended Israel to every T, especially with Gaza too. That's why people started to move away from him, because he was taking Israel's side during the genocide.
I don't care about Medicare, Medicaid, child care. I care about a war. And we're going to win this war. We're going to win it in 4 days. We're going to win it in 5 weeks. We're going to win it in 6 months. And, the sailors don't like being out there for 9 months and aircraft carriers falling apart. Well, the war hadn't lasted quite long enough. He's dying in the polls. He's at like 30%. A year ago, he was at 57. So, again, I just see everything Tim Pool does and I see talking points. I'm trying to even single Tim Pool out. He attacked me. He falsely claimed that, basically being anti-Trump war is unpopular, but it's very popular. But I wasn't anti-war when it was popular. I've been anti-offensive war.
It shouldn't matter if it's popular or not. And this is the thing that I have about this. It shouldn't matter if it's popular or not. What should matter is it the right position? Is it the right thing to do? What's the moral thing to do? It shouldn't matter if it's popular or not. That's just kind of how I see it. I don't understand this whole thing about, well, it's a popular issue. And I wonder this too, because the reality is, had it been the other way around, and let's say what Trump was doing was popular, let's say it was the other way around, and the majority of Americans were supporting this war with Iran and were supporting what Donald Trump has been doing since this third term here in office, would Alex Jones have the opinion that he had? Would he still say, no, you said no wars? Because I have to ask, these are the things I look at. I'm looking to see if people stand on those issues when it's not popular to do so. I'm not looking to see if when people stand on it when it is popular to do so. That's something I think people need to pay attention to.
And then I'm about to go to bed, here on Wednesday night. I've been up since 4 a.m. working, and I just see it being pushed out there by the bots, pushed out everywhere, him about this trillion D chess that Trump is playing. And it's just pure crap. Where is your energy prices right now? What's happening with inflation right now? It's all pure crap. Yeah, there's an energy war between Russia, China, and the West. And the EU is one bloc that is collapsing with demographics, and they're dead. So they say they want to win a war with Russia. They're going to break Russia in 5 parts, says the EU officially. Look up their economic ministers. They've lost. It didn't work. Just like Napoleon and Hitler attacked Russia. So it's cuckoo. And all we have is the dollar, basically. And when that goes down, folks, we are in deep shit. So this war has not strengthened the dollar. It has weakened the dollar. And there won't be a petrodollar because it won't be based in the dollar anymore. And so he sits there with this confidence game, this real boomer-esque, Q, trust the plan type stuff. And it's just not what's happening. JP Morgan, all of them, Chase, they're saying, look for major economic collapse. And they're out there busily running into gold and silver while the public has no idea what's going on. I wanted Trump's plan to succeed. He was great the first 5 months. And then he said, forget about Epstein. don't look into it. He went sideways, and it was just a disaster.
Let me just pause here. He wasn't even great the first 5 months either, because he was still giving Israel weapons, and Israel was carpet bombing in Gaza at that point in time. So I don't know. People seem to forget, but I don't. So he wasn't even great then either, but he did get worse, even worse after that. But the thing is this. I believe that Tim Pool and many others alike, like the Ben Shapiros and all that stuff, that are still trying to ride on whatever is left of this Trump train. I believe part of that is audience capture. And I believe another part of that is who is paying them. I mean, it's just, again, like Ben Shapiro, it's no secret. Like, they get donors. The Daily Wire has donors. It's not like that's something that's hidden. We've talked about that before. And then it was revealed again that Tim Pool was taking that money from Tenet Media, and they were getting paid by Russia through Tenet Media and all this kind of stuff. Either way, is you was getting money, okay? And it's just weird to me for him to then in turn say Alex Jones is getting paid. Like, weren't you getting paid? So that's what a lot of that comes down to. Alex Jones is no longer, his show is not on YouTube, right? So I believe he has, like, if I remember correctly, I think his show was just on a website, right? And then he also streams on X. But he's one of the people that is not allowed to come back onto YouTube, from what I understand. Tim Pool's still on YouTube. So it's like, you're kind of talking about two totally different things. And a big part of it is Tim just has no room to talk. Now, I don't get no checks from other people like that. I don't get no, I'm independent. My money comes from the people. So don't look at me. But my whole thing is all y'all was taking checks at one point. All y'all was getting money somewhere from someone at one point. But this whole, I am going to ride or die on this Trump hill, it's a cancer. And I do want to speak to what he said about the dollar. The dollar, remember I reported this, the dollar started losing its value after the 70s. We showed the graph on the show. So it's been steadily losing that. But of course, the war made things even worse. I think one of the things I noticed with Alex Jones is he doesn't acknowledge and mention that the value was already starting to decrease anyway. That's important for people to know, even before the war started.
And on the other side, we got the Democratic Socialists of America as the counter, which is horrible as well. But I can't endorse, quote, a lesser of two evils. I mean, I just can't do it. So I said this when the war started 170 something days ago. I said, I could hit a button to make the bullets go to the Phantom Zone or to Mars, I'd do it. But the Pentagon's own assessment said that wasn't going to happen. And their assessment was right. But notice they didn't attack the Israel lobby, the Pentagon assessment. They attacked Tulsi Gabbard and Joe Kent and, Tucker Carlson and myself and Colonel McGregor, and not the chairman of the Joint Chiefs that told Trump it wasn't a good idea. So we've been proven right. You guys have been proven wrong. And this hopium stuff about quadrillion D chess is just pure crap. Yeah, does it make some U.S. oil companies make some more money? Trump was bitching about them a month ago, saying they're stealing money and oil prices are up because of U.S. oil companies, Exxon, Mobil, and Chevron. All their profits together are like $35 billion. It's costing more than that a day when the Strait of Hormuz is closed. It's in the multi-trillions. Remember, Biden blamed gas stations for gas prices being high 6 years ago.
But you saw who the handler was. I mean, you saw who was right by his side. You saw Miriam Adelson. You saw these things. Like, am I blind? Did people really believe? And tell me, if you did, let me know. Be honest. Did people really believe that Donald Trump was going to end the wars when he had Miriam Adelson by his side? Did people really believe that? Alex Jones and Tim Pool going back and forth, tit for tat. And if you just joined, you have to know again, Alex Jones basically challenged him to a fight. Now, I don't know if he wants like a real boxing match, but that would actually be funny. That would actually be funny. But this was what he said.
I challenge you, Tim, to trial by combat. You will wear the blue and white, and and the Star of David. I will wear the red, white, and blue. I'm calling out Netanyahu's champion. I'm demanding trial by combat publicly. If you fail, Israel must withdraw from trying to take over the U.S. government and get out of the NDAA and stop the war. If you win, we launch nuclear weapons and destroy the entire planet to bring back the Messiah. Tim Pool, the ball is in your court.
This is just ridiculous. You know what? All of these people should have been in the WWE. Alex Jones should have been in the WWE. Like, if this gig don't work out, maybe later on, that's something he might think about doing. But he should he should be there. He should be in the WWE. That would be hilarious. And people would, people would definitely probably pay to see that. That would be really funny. But I would think, you think so too? In this corner, we have Ben Shapiro. In this corner, we have Alex Jones. That would be funny. I think people would pay to see that. But at the end of the day, a lot of it comes down to hypocrisy, guys. Like, he's just Tim Pool's being a hypocrite. And at the end of the day, like I said, all of them got paid. So it's like, really? Let's go to the next one. Eric. Yeah, let's go to the next one. All right, guys. We're going to do one more here before Larry hops on. And then, yeah. So this is funny stuff. If you haven't done so, do me a solid and smash that like button. Thank you so much. And if you're new, don't forget to like, sub, and share, just like a Care Bear. All right, guys. We covered the death of Hayden Panettiere. And I told you guys, I questioned it because she was just doing this book tour, talking about her memoir. She revealed a couple of things in interviews just about 2-3 months ago about what happened to her in the industry. She talked about being abused in Hollywood and many other things. She talked about having a controlling mom that basically pushed her into this Hollyweird industry when she was a baby. And then she said that her mother basically made it very clear to her that she was never allowed to say no. She also talked briefly as well in an interview about how she was taken, she was on a ship and she was brought downstairs into a room and put next to this naked man who she said was very famous. The typical Hollywood cabal. Well, now, there is an investigation that has opened up about her death. The DEA has an investigation. They opened about this. I want to start here first, and then I want to get to what Gayle King just did, which is really shady. And in my opinion, what they are doing about her now that she has died.
It is now being reported that authorities are investigating the sudden death of Hayden Panettiere for any signs of criminality, while the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, has also jumped in as well. What does this tell us about what happened to the actress? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Things are reportedly evolving in connection with the death of actress Hayden Panettiere. We started the week by learning that the 36-year-old was found Sunday unresponsive in cardiac arrest at this apartment that she was temporarily staying at in Greenville, South Carolina. First responders apparently tried to conduct these life-saving measures, but she was pronounced dead at the scene at 2:32 p.m. There was even reportedly dispatch audio where you can seemingly hear the word overdose. This is shocking. This is sad. This is incredibly tragic, especially when you consider the Nashville star had publicly addressed addiction in the past, a battle with postpartum depression in the past. And look, while the preliminary findings of the autopsy reportedly found no signs of trauma, and the Greenville Police Department indicated they didn't appear to find any evidence of foul play or suspicious circumstances, now we are getting word that things may be evolving, things may be escalating. TMZ has reported that law enforcement sources indicated to them that authorities are investigating whether a crime has been committed, namely because of how unexpected Hayden Panettiere's death is.
And considering the timing, which I had said before, right? Like, again, she was just on this book tour promoting her memoir, and she was revealing quite a bit of information about what was going on in the entertainment industry, her experiences there, and I don't know, these people just either have a way of disappearing, dying, or we're told that they OD'd. You know, it's a common tale. I remember the way they were talking about Britney Spears when she was going through postpartum depression. I remember a lot of this stuff. And so it's either you come out on the other side of it an okay and better person, and, you know, being able to get out of that cabal, which is Holly weird, or you end up in a tragic situation. And unfortunately, that happens to too many people. And the fact that they have now opened this up, to me, that says they suspect some things. Let's go on a little bit more here.
So law enforcement is investigating this seemingly at the same time as the coroner's office. And by the way, it's been reported that no cause or manner of death has been determined and that they're awaiting the toxicology results, right? The toxicology test, the toxicology report, which could take some time. And then you couple that with reporting that is now coming out by multiple outlets like Fox, CNN, the New York Times, that the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, we're talking federal agency here, has joined the investigation. So the questions I have, the questions I think we all have are, why? What does this mean? What are they looking for? What is happening now behind the scenes? So I'm going to be bringing on a retired detective shortly to talk about that, what we should be thinking about. But first, let me just give you some more information, okay? So we have also learned that reportedly, the Heroes actress on-again, off-again boyfriend, Brian Hickerson, and his brother Zach were at the scene, were at the apartment, that they placed the 911 phone call. CNN is claiming the police report indicates that an officer interviewed the brothers, with the police report saying, quote, "I spoke with Zach Hickerson first. He advised this was his brother's girlfriend." CNN is also reporting that Brian Hickerson allegedly showed officers a bag of medications at the apartment. This is per a police report. And by the way, TMZ has also reported that sources claim Narcan was found at this apartment too, which is used to treat an opioid overdose. Now, something to note about Brian Hickerson, if you're not familiar with him when it comes to Hayden Panettiere, he had been accused by the actress of domestic abuse, particularly in her memoir just a few months back. The New York Times was reporting that back in March, only a few months before Hayden Panettiere died, she had reportedly hired security to keep Hickerson away.
Now, let's go back to what she said, that she was told never to say no. And people wonder, well, how does she end up in this abusive type of relationship? We also talked about how, you know, she did have a daughter. Her daughter did not live with her. Her daughter lived with her ex, and apparently over in Ukraine. And when people, if you have a mother who is not nurturing, if you have a mother who doesn't want to be motherly towards you, like Hayden claimed, and just sees you as an employee, and you're gonna, you know, go out there and become the star or whatever and make a lot of money. When abuse happens to you, if you don't feel as though you can go to the mother, what do you do? Especially when the mother they tell you, according to her, don't say no. What do you do? Now, I don't know what happened at this scene that night, but the fact that they've opened up this investigation leads me to believe they think there could be some type of foul play, but not sure. We don't know if this is something, we still don't know if this is something that she did to herself or if it was done to her. And considering the fact that she was telling some things at that point in time, I wouldn't be surprised if it were the latter. People start talking. Here you go.
That court documents reveal he was sentenced to 45 days in jail after pleading no contest to 2 felony domestic violence charges for injuring Panettiere. Panettiere wrote in her memoir, "What I never told them was that the abuse I'd endured didn't feel as bad as the thought of being alone." And by the way, Hickerson himself even came out after this memoir was published, apologized for what happened, saying it was true, that he was in a dark place that included issues with substances, and that it was a, quote, terrible thing I did to her. In fact, let me call this out too. Hayden Panettiere's estranged mother, Leslie Vogel, has now spoken out too, telling NBC in part, quote, "This person in her life that we've been trying to get rid of for quite some time was with her at her death." And that was Brian Hickerson.
Something else that her mother also said, it is kind of weird that her mom's statement, at least what was revealed to the press, did not seem to have any type of remorse. It was just kind of weird to me. It's like, we've been trying to get rid of this person, basically, if that makes sense. And then there's this. Now, see, I don't like messy. And Gayle King has been messy. Let me show you what she's doing now. Gayle King was one of the people who interviewed Hayden more recently about the book tour. Listen to what she's saying about Hayden Panettiere now that she's dead.
When it comes to Hayden, was there any signs when you saw her last time in the studio? I know you wanted to last.
I'm not going to say there were signs, but she was clearly still wobbly, and I still thought that she was still working things out. But my heart sank when I heard what had happened to her.
Mine too.
I mean, we all think that. Because
did everybody hear what she said? Let me run it back. When she says what she was. Listen.
Signs when you saw her last time in the studio. I know you wanted to last.
I'm not going to say there were signs, but she was clearly still wobbly.
She was clearly still wobbly. Doesn't this remind you of what Oprah did to Whitney Houston? Like just recently, we talked about this. Why did you wait? You say this stuff after people have died and they can't defend themselves. Yeah. So here we go. Did you get what I'm saying? That plants things. When you say, oh, well, she was kind of still wobbly, she's not alive to come in and defend herself. And that leads people to start to think about other things. Why didn't you say that when she was alive? Oof.
And I still thought that she was still working things out, but my heart sank when I heard what had happened to her.
Mine too.
I mean, we all think that because she was still such a talent and seemed to be on the way. It was just heartbreaking to me. That's all.
Now, her mother did respond and say that there was like a certain individual that was kind of like in between their relationship. Did you see that comment that her mother made?
No, but when you read the book, you knew that there was something between her and the ex-boyfriend.
Right.
And many people thought that she had gotten past that. Clearly, she hadn't. But I prefer to concentrate on who she was when she was here. That's what I want people to remember. The light that she was. I really loved the father of her child, what he said about her. He said he wants to make sure that his daughter knows who the mother was and that she is held in such high regard. I was very, very, very touched by that. That to me is the most important thing. But it was just heartbreaking all around. And now we know that there's an investigation. We shall see. We just want her to rest. We just want her to rest in peace.
Made a statement via social media saying that that's not what they stand for. They made her feel uncomfortable while she was alive during that difficult time in her life. What do you think of that?
But during that time, we weren't talking about postpartum.
Pause. That's a lie. We'll come back to this video. Neutrogena, for those who are not aware, Hayden Panettiere, at one point, she did have like this endorsement gig with Neutrogena. And at that point in time, she was doing commercials for them. I remember this as well. But apparently, because I guess during some type of interview or whatever, she was talking about postpartum depression, Neutrogena saw that as a problem for their brand. And so they were just basically like, we don't really want you to be representing us. And that's what you're talking about. That's just part of being human. That's just part of, obviously someone being a mom. She was asked about it. And so she answered the question about it. But Neutrogena had a problem with that. They basically wanted you to be something, just pretend everything's okay and none of those things. So basically you are the brand and the brand is you, essentially. Gayle is taking cover for Neutrogena here. And let me show you. Okay. I'll come back to Gayle. She lying. Because check this out. Right here. Simple Normal. Yes, Gayle King, we have been talking about postpartum depression. Remember when you reported on Andrea Yates in the early 2000s? Even your friend Oprah did a show about it back then. We've been talking about this since 2001. Hayden was in 2015. So you see how she just lying? You see that? So that is Gail trying to come in to run cover for, guess what? A company, a brand. She's trying to protect Neutrogena. So Neutrogena just recently issued a statement saying they're saddened about her death and they didn't mean this and they didn't mean that and blah, blah, blah. Bull crap. Because you didn't come out and issue the statement until after she died. She talked about this before. So do you see how Gayle King is running to protect business? Oh, well, we didn't know much about that back then. And, we didn't talk about. Yes, we did.
They made her feel uncomfortable while she was alive during that difficult time in her life. What do you think of that?
But, during that time, we weren't talking about postpartum. We were not talking about that. So I appreciate the fact that Neutrogena is acknowledging that and saying that, they clearly are expressing some regrets. But back then, we were not talking about it the way we're talking about it now. It's like Maya Angelou used to always say, when you know better, you do better. I think that's a lesson for all of us.
No, Gail. You don't get to bring Maya Angelou into this. What? No. We have to boo this woman. We have to boo. Get her out of here. Maybe Neutrogena, maybe one of the sponsors for CBS. I don't know. But you don't do that when people die. You don't then come forward and say, oh, she was wobbly. And you don't do that. She can't defend herself. And that should make you guys ask more questions again about this industry, how people can just do things like that. Corey said so pretty well here, Corey Oliver. Don't forget Gayle King going after Kobe Bryant. I'll never forget that. This is why Black prominent people shouldn't sit down with Gayle King or Oprah for interviews. They work in bad faith. There it is. It's sad what has happened. I feel like it's a common tale in the world of Hollyweird. And I told you guys, I often question if some of these former stars that they say died from an overdose actually died from that. I wonder if, these things actually happened the way they said it happened. I wonder if some of these people that they said were on drugs were actually on drugs. I wonder if some of the people they said were crazy were actually crazy. And one of the people I think people need to take a look at right now is Amanda Bynes. She was on Nickelodeon, was doing pretty well in her acting career. And they said all of a sudden one day something just snapped. Did something just snap? Or did somebody hurt Amanda? Did somebody do something to Amanda? And maybe that triggered something. What happened? You look at right now what's going on with Ariana Grande. Ariana Grande, again, that was another one who was a child star. People are worried about her right now. They said she just snapped. She just changed. Did she just snap? Or did somebody do something to Ariana? Because things that are done to children when they're younger, sometimes people may not start to show that and act out on that until they're an adult. Hayden told us about what happened to her. And when you have a mom that basically tells you she's not looking for no mother-daughter relationship, and you're her little employee, her little soldier, what do? How do you handle and deal with an abusive boyfriend? So it's like, it almost felt to me as though Hayden couldn't look to her mom and say, what have you done for me? Because she said her mother had told her that she owed her, and she meant she owed her money. That's not love. That's employment. It's a scary industry. And things happen to these people. And I feel like the press, this is why I had a problem with what Gail said there, because that's planting a seed, telling people, oh, she was wobbly. So then it gives people the impression, well, she must have been drunk or under the influence during that interview. Therefore, I shouldn't even believe what she said in her memoir. You see how this works? They did the same thing with Britney Spears. I saw all this stuff. They did the same thing with Britney. They did this with Justin Bieber. I mean, the list goes on. If they can make you think the person is crazy, then their job is done. Sakina, I remember when Gail and Oprah were on Club Quarantined with D Nice, 10-year-old daughter, so fake they couldn't talk to a 10-year-old. Oh no, man. This is a very scary one. Someone mentioned the jab. Yeah, that's another thing that's been brought up. People wonder if the jab is something that could have, they said she went into a cardiac arrest, but they haven't confirmed the actual cause. Could have had something to do with that too. Her brother died. Heart issue. Don't know. But some crazy stuff going on in Hollywood, guys. Some crazy stuff. Larry will be here in just a second. So I do want to go ahead and let you guys know about this announcement, what's happening with YouTube. So I just want people to understand what's going on, because I want people coming to me. This was the announcement from YouTube. Starting on August 24th, which will be Monday, views will count the moment a video begins to play with no minimum watch time across all formats. That's video on demand, shorts, and live. We're standardizing views to reflect creators' true exposure across YouTube, making it easier to show their value to brand partners. This update, won't impact creator earnings or YouTube partner eligibility. Okay, let me explain this to you guys. Some people may see this and think this is a good thing for creators. I don't really see this as a good thing, but let me tell you what this basically means. So in YouTube Studio, which is our creator side of YouTube. So if you have a YouTube channel, you also have what's called YouTube Studio, and you can see all of your analytics. On that side of things, there is a tab there that's called impressions. And under the impression side, that basically tells you how many times your thumbnail was shown to people. So my impressions might say, we're just throwing out numbers here. Let's say an impression says this thumbnail was shown to 500 people. But those aren't views. Then maybe your views may say this thumbnail, this video received 100 views. So it was shown 500 times and it got 100 views. Let me break down what that really means. The way that YouTube used to count a view, it was based on how long it played. So from what I understood, a video had to play for at least, I think, 30 seconds for it to be considered a view. So if a video auto plays, that does not count as a view. Like if I'm just scrolling by and it just auto plays and then I keep scrolling, that wouldn't count. That wasn't 30 seconds, right? What they are saying now is that basically, if this happens tomorrow, and we're going to see, I'll be able to see on the back end. What they're basically saying is that now our view count is more so going to be our impression count. So instead of this video was shown or this thumbnail was shown 500 times and 100 people actually watched it for at least 30 seconds, now it will be this video received 500 views, which isn't really accurate. Does everybody get what I'm saying? It's kind of like this tweet where you see here, it says this tweet from YouTube received 14.2 million views. So that's how many people saw it. And then you'll see here that 31,000 people liked it, right? And 9,000 people retweeted. Now, I want to explain to people basically what they're trying to do is they're trying to get more brand, more investors, more sponsors to invest in YouTube, right? The problem is, though, that these brands are going to see, well, hey, it says this person was getting this amount of views, and they're going to start to realize, well, wait a minute, they're not actually getting that amount of views. That's the number of impressions, but it's saying views now. So I don't understand how this will be a good deal for brands. And then if you're someone like me, I don't have sponsorships. So I don't care. Like it just, like those of us who don't have sponsorships and by choice, I don't understand this. Like it's weird. But the way they're framing it is though it would help the creator. And what I'm trying to tell you guys is it really doesn't, because that's no change for us. It doesn't change our money. It doesn't change, our true exposure and all that kind of stuff. Long story short, apparently starting tomorrow, it's going to appear that we have more views than we actually do. And I'll wait and see if this actually happens, because YouTube be all over the place sometimes. This is a problem because it's going to happen for every YouTube channel, not just certain ones, all of them. And that includes the AI channels. So all of those AI channels that you see in YouTube, there's a couple of them that are geopolitics, they're AI channels, and I hate it. I click on it and I'm like, what the heck is this? All of those AI channels, which absolutely suck, they're going to also appear to have more views than what they actually have. And sometimes people may only click on a video depending on how many views it has. So it's just, that's not real. It's not real. So that's the problem I have with that. Is like, I don't understand. I just don't think that's a good decision by YouTube. But I wanted to let you guys know that. So if you see a change on Monday, you'll understand why. That YouTube made that change, that now a view counts from the moment that it plays, even if it just auto plays. Hot Dog says, for an advertiser, your conversations are going to go way down. Yeah, it does not make any sense. And so YouTube is going to have two different sections now in YouTube Studio, where one is going to show, I guess, like that impression count, that side. And the other one is going to be what we see now, which is the real view count. It just does not make sense to me. I don't think advertisers are going to fall for that. Anyway, Larry's here, so I want to go ahead and bring him in, but I want to let you guys know that just in case tomorrow you're like, whoa, how come all these channels have all these, views? And I don't know if it's even going to start tomorrow. That's what they said, but we'll see. But I'm just letting you know that they put that out there. So they're just trying to get more advertisers. It's wild. It's wild. Anyway, let's go ahead and bring on Larry. All right, guys, my guest joining me tonight is Larry Johnson. He's a former CIA analyst. Lots to discuss. Welcome back, Larry.
Hey, man, I love the dress. Very
it's
colorful.
A shirt.
Oh, shirt. Well, okay, yeah, I can't. All I can see is the top. So great top. Very tropical. Very tropical.
I'm trying. It was kind of rainy today. So
yeah, it's been raining down here too.
Yeah. Okay. So it's all over the East Coast then. Okay, Larry, some crazy things are going on now. I want to get into the Turkey situation. Yeah. So, guys, this video came out. Let me go just play this for everybody so everyone understands what's going on. Ryan Rosbiani says Netanyahu turns Turkey into his next election threat. So the Israeli government right now is threatening to target Turkey. Everyone listen to this.
Ask, why should Israel be concerned about Turkish forces in Syria? Well, because Turkish President Erdogan has openly called for Israel's destruction. He even said about our closest partner, the United States, that, well, a just world is possible But now with America, is this the kind of guy you would want on your border? And October 7th made it clear to everyone. When your enemy tells you that he wants to destroy you, you should probably believe him. Prime Minister Netanyahu has also made something else very clear. Israel welcomes a return to the previous status quo. We are not looking for escalation, but neither Turkey nor any other country is going to threaten the state of Israel.
Larry, boy, let's get into this. Israel targeting Turkey now.
Well, Israel reminds me of that scene from the movie Deer Hunter with Christopher Walken at the end, where he's sitting in Vietnam playing Russian roulette, puts bullet in a revolver, spins it, puts the gun to his head, pulls the trigger. That's Israel. I mean, right now, Israel is dependent on Turkey for its oil. And so what's Israel doing? Trying to provoke a confrontation with Turkey. Instead of letting Turkey's rhetoric, whatever Erdogan says, Erdogan is just a big hot air balloon, and he's been all over the map in terms of what he said. But the one thing Turkey can do, which it has refused to do up to this point, is cut Israel off from the oil that flows from Azerbaijan through Turkey. Now, the Azeris are pretty nervous about this because they're moving to try to broker some, reconciliation between Israel and Turkey. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Turkey now apparently they've made a decided shift. That it's evidenced by the reports that Turkey, Saudi, and Pakistan have invited Iran to join the Mecca agreement. And guess who's traveling to Tehran today? So it's now early Monday morning in Tehran. One Asim Munir, the military chieftain of Pakistan, who's really the guy that's in charge, and he's going to Iran to talk a long list, not just having Iran join a this Mecca agreement. I call it the Me Too, Middle East Treaty Organization. So not just to join the Me Too, but also to talk to Iran about a bilateral security agreement between Iran and Pakistan. That news just came out on a transition protocol. Pepe Escobar and Zulfikar Ali were discussing it. It just popped up on the web about 30 minutes ago.
So I want to show people that too, because I was kind of surprised about that. The Cradle was talking about this as well, so you guys can see it here. Iran is reviewing an invitation to join the Mecca Joint Defense Agreement signed by Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. Mehdi Harimi, head of Iranian's parliament official news agency, said in an interview. And then Rahimi said Iran had received an invitation to join the agreement and was currently considering the proposal. And I gotta ask, I didn't expect something like this to happen. And so why do you think that this is, they even reached out to invite Iran? They didn't reach out to invite Israel. So what do you think is what's really pushing this? I'm shocked. I'm going to tell you, I'm really shocked.
Israel's the problem. Israel's the threat. Israel's the one that's attacking everybody in its borders and outside of its borders. So really the foundation of this goes back to the last week in April when Foreign Minister Araghchi of Iran traveled to Moscow. And in the wake of meetings with Vladimir Putin, President Putin came out and called for a new security architecture in the Gulf. A week later, Araghchi's in Beijing, meeting with Wang Yi, the foreign minister. And comes out of that meeting, and Wang Yi, parrots what Putin said. We need a new security architecture. Pakistan has been, let's call it, an actor on behalf of China in this entire affair. Now, the United States has also turned to Pakistan. But I think what we're seeing is these countries are now recognizing that China and Russia may have a point, that their past reliance on the United States has made them more vulnerable, has hurt them economically, and it hasn't it left them unprotected. And so now they're saying, yeah, maybe we need to protect ourselves because the United States is not to be trusted. So I think that if the reports that we received through the transition protocol channel are true, that this is not something that's thought of to happen a year from now or 2 years from now. It could actually move much quicker. And if Iran does in fact sign on to that, Donald Trump's going to probably have to take some ulcer medicine because it's going to create some discomfort.
This would be the ultimate embarrassment to
Yes.
like the Trump administration.
Correct. Yeah. No, I mean this is big if it goes through. Now we're already. So right now it's early Monday morning in Tehran. Today's D-Day, according to Scott Bessent. This is the economic D-Day. And Iran's made it very clear that any of the Gulf countries that participate in any kind of economic warfare on Iran, that Iran's going to strike their economic interests, not economically, militarily. And I think one of the prime candidates that's at the top of the list will be the United Arab Emirates. Possibly Qatar, but I think Qatar's come to its senses. But, the efforts now of MBS, Erdogan, with Pakistan, and the fact that Asim Munir is making this trip. So he'll be, if he's not already on his way, he'll be in Iran, early, about 8 hours, quick flight from Islamabad. And we'll be sitting down and talking, to Ghalibaf, to Pezeshkian, to Arashi, and possibly we'll speak with the Ayatollah, Mustafa Khamenei.
This is a big deal, you guys. Again, I never thought I'd see this happen, but there is major things that are happening because check this out. This is from the Hormuz letter. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Bahrain are now privately reaching out to Iran for new security arrangements. They're sending multiple messages almost daily to Iran out of concern that the U.S. cannot protect them anymore. Guys, this is, oh my God. And again, the other thing too is that if the U.S. and Israel did not strike Iran, I don't even think, I don't believe that defense agreement would have even been signed.
Yeah. Well, look, this is, good Lord, 46 years in the making. So it started with when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. And then the United States got involved with its covert action to force the Soviets out and began working through the Gulf Arabs, principally Saudi Arabia, but others. Qatar was involved. United Arab Emirates was involved, and funding the radical Islamists that attacked the United States on 9/11. And I am simplifying here, but the broad brush is the reality that through the 1980s, the United States had these relationships with these jihadists and the Sunnis, and it was all, again, all of this was partly was directed at Soviet Union, but also directed at Iran. Because remember, the United States was very involved with supporting and funding the war that Iraq waged against Iran, including supply of chemical weapons. Then we entered the 1990s. And so on the one hand, the United States shifted its focus to battling terrorism because we needed to have another excuse to build up the defense budget. So Islamic terrorism became sort of the new rallying cry. But it was in the 1990s that Bill Clinton signed an intelligence finding that allowed the CIA funding these groups and using cutouts. So they were not directly funding, but using the Gulf Arabs to fund the Chechen War that was launched against Russia in August of 1999 and continued for 10 years. Then in 2005, according to Seymour Hersh, George W. Bush then signed another finding that was to actually start funding ISIS and other groups like that for the purpose of attacking Iran. And then that continued into the presidency of Barack Obama, where again we had all the weapons flowing out of Libya that were going to Turkey, making their way into the hands of ISIS, al-Nusra. They were carrying out the war against Bashar al-Assad. Again, it was a way to go after Iran. Assad he was a stepping stone. The real target was Iran. And then, and also during that period, the United States is funding the terrorist group, the Mujahideen al-Khalq. So I think these Arab countries, these Gulf Arabs they were always being, having to provide money and being told by the United States, you stick with us, we'll protect you, you can help weaken Iran. And they bought into that, oh, Iran's a terrible threat to us, even though Iran was not threatening them, it was not conducting subversive actions against them. Then when the Saudis went after the Houthis in 2014, 2015, that pitted the Saudis on one side, the Iranians on the other side, in terms of Iran supported the Houthis. Well, and the Houthis basically beat the Saudis. And so I think now these countries are, the ones with some sanity are starting to step back and saying, you know what, being in this relationship with the United States, man, this is a toxic relationship. We sign up to, they're going to protect us, and they can't protect us. They've run out of weapons, and they've made us a target. So let's figure out a way. And even if Bahrain's sending those messages, I don't think Ghalibaf is exaggerating. So if you got Qatar, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, I think that those Gulf Arab leaders who are not, they're not there by popular support. They don't have popular support. Instead, they're now saying, we like our positions. We like to stay in power. Maybe we need to align ourselves with Iran now under this broader umbrella with Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan.
Do you think that Israel is going to try to strike Turkey?
Well, they already have indirectly. I mean, with that attack on the airbase last week, where alleging that Turks were putting forces in there. It would be if Israel. Part of this, I wonder, is just if Israel's doing heated political rhetoric for the political impact domestically, without actually having a desire to get into a war with Turkey. If it's left up to the Israeli army, they won't do it. I mean, they're not stupid. They recognize you get into a war with Turkey, Israel's going to come out on the short end of that stick.
Yeah, Turkey is a part of NATO. It's like, it's crazy, but they're saying that, and I want everybody to understand the rhetoric that's being used once again. They're saying that Turkey is an existential threat to Israel because of language that Turkey is used. This sound familiar, guys? So this is what I was trying to tell you. They'll use this towards anyone. It's not just, something they say towards the Palestinians as well. And so now they're saying that Turkey is a threat to Israel, to Israel's security, and that they need to come after them. And it's just, I feel like Erdogan should have seen this coming. One of the things that we saw too, it was a couple of emails that were revealed in the Epstein files. They were talking about this years ago, Larry, that they were going to come after Turkey.
Yeah. No, this is, and Turkey's, again, it's a very curious policy because it's the primary supplier or conduit of oil for Israel. It's the oil comes out of Azerbaijan, crosses Turkey through a pipeline, and then is loaded on ships and sent to Israel. Well, I don't know why Turkey didn't cut that oil off. Just say, no, we're not doing that anymore. And then if you cut off Israel from that, all of a sudden their refineries don't have enough oil to make aviation fuel and diesel. With lack of diesel and aviation fuel is going to significantly curtail their ability to carry out military operations. And that's why for Israel to, if it wants to embark on a conflict with Turkey, the very supplier of the majority of its oil, insanity, absolute insanity.
It's just really interesting, you guys. When I saw this, I just thought to myself, okay, something is changing here. Something is starting to shift. And then we've been talking also about, BRICS and BRICS expanding and some other countries that are seeking that out in some way, shape, or form, right? Like Saudi Arabia has done that as well. How is Saudi Arabia, what are they going to say to the US government? Because Saudi Arabia, like, they entertain BRICS as well. They have this defense pact that they signed, which I haven't seen Trump really comment about this yet.
Yeah, well, I don't think he's actually focused on it. Now, remember what Trump said about Mohammed bin Salman? That, that Mohammed bin Salman should kiss his ass. I don't think bin Salman's gone out and bought a big tube of chapstick to, butter up his lips to carry out that act. I think, yeah, I mean, that's whatever, there's significant problems with MBS. But I think it's somewhere, he's got to have some measure of self-respect, that saying, I'm not going to let Trump talk to me like that, like I'm some stable boy that has to, come shine his shoes. I mean, it's racist and it's demeaning. But hey, look at Trump, boy, he is consistent. It's like he's trying to figure out every country in the world in which the United States has had some sort of strategic relationship with. He's pissing them off. South Korea, MBS now in Saudi Arabia, Canada, Brazil, Oman, threatening to bomb Oman, Denmark, Greenland. So, Trump's not exactly acquiring the kind of reputation to say, oh man, what a friend we have in Trump. You can update the old hymn, what a friend we have in Jesus. Well, what a friend we have in Trump.
It's interesting. Another thing too that has happened, you guys, this is a big one. It's getting a lot of criticism. The Guardian, the outlet The Guardian, they published an open letter to Iran's political prisoners. This letter was signed by Angela Davis, Mumia Abu Jamal, Rashid Khalidi, Robin D.G. Kelly, Ruth Wilson Gilmore, Judith Butler, Walden Bello. Those are just some of the names, academics, some of the academics as well who have signed that letter. And people are getting a lot of pushback against this letter that was signed. There's a long explanation here. But one of the things that he shared here was to Iran's political prisoners trapped between two blades of a scissor, an open letter. For people who are not aware, so some of those people that I named, those academics and stuff, they signed that letter. And some people are already starting to remove their names from the letter. Have you heard about this, Larry?
No, that's the first I heard of it. I think it's shameful for them to do that. Look.
Yeah. Explain why to people, Larry.
Well, first of all, the mythology that there's a majority opposition to the Islamic Republic is Western propaganda that's been funded by the CIA. And it was generated using an Iranian dissident in the Netherlands who was hooked up with a VPN in Canada And so they claimed, oh, we're doing this unique kind of a survey because Iranian people, if you call them up on the phone, they're not going to tell you what they really think. Instead, we're doing it over the internet where they can retain anonymity. And they said 80%, they came up with the number 80% of the Iranians wanted to get rid of the Islamic Republic. Well, then you had the University of Maryland, and they were doing polling the old-fashioned way. They were calling and contacting people. And let me emphasize that this cat in the Netherlands and VPN in Canada, gee, where was their funding coming from? Oh, that would be the United States government. So yeah, I'm sure there's no influence there that they would be acting on behalf of U.S. intelligence interests. But Maryland, who was not on the U.S. government dole, conducted its own survey. They found the exact opposite. 70% of the people in Iran supported the Islamic Republic. And a lot of the U.S. propaganda is predicated on the notion, oh, the women are oppressed. They have to wear the hijab. And yet we saw I think it was last March, a year ago March, you had several people, including Max Blumenthal and his wife, were in Tehran. And, and Max tells the story. He and his wife are on the subway, and there's this, young Iranian couple canoodling on the subway. Oh. Boy, that's sort of anti-Islamic. And there wasn't some, Islamic policeman beating them up, and women are not, they don't have to wear their heads covered. So the Ayatollah Khamenei, Ali Khamenei, the father of Moshtaba, he'd been lightening up, and it was becoming a more open society. But what's happened since the United States launched this attack to decapitate the Iranian leadership, try to force a color revolution on Iran, it had the exact opposite effect. It rallied particularly the youth, particularly people under the age of 30, have now come and recognized their country is under a savage attack. So that these Westerners who are associated with, quote, the left or associated with Sunni Islamic movements are being used. I would argue they're being used by Western intelligence to try to promote this narrative. And I insist it's a false narrative.
Yeah, it's you guys, and it's I know it's frustrating for some people to hear because there may be some of the names that signed on for this that you may actually like. Like one of the ones that's being called out by a lot of people is Angela Davis, but I would say Angela kind of sold out long ago. But as you guys will see here, I just want to bring it up on the screen for you. To Iran's political prisoners trapped between two blades of scissors. Again, it's an open letter. And just pull this up here so you guys can see. The letter is really bad. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but you guys can read it yourself. But it basically says, to our fellow activist students, thinkers, workers, artists, and other prisoners of conscience held behind the walls of all detention centers in Iran. They're basically trying to say that the Iranian people are prisoners. And what's sad about it is people who should know better sign this letter. Like, again, here are all the names. Some people are trying to get their name removed, by the way, but in solidarity with love, you got, again, Angela Davis. It's a lot of professors, as you guys can see if we go down the list here, who, again, just should know better. And they got some pushback here. Mumia, I'm shocked, signed this, who's a current political prisoner. But a lot of these people are getting pushback because they're like, you guys should know better. What are you doing? You got Yassin al-Hajjad Saleh, who's a Syrian writer. It's bad. The letter is really bad. They basically make it seem as though the Iranian people, they're all like political prisoners. And then you have all
One of
those academics that signed it.
one of them write a letter about all the black men imprisoned in the United States. You know, it's like clean up your own damn house first before you go out and tell other people how to clean up their house. Okay. The United States has got, we've got more political prisoners here than are in Iran. But, you know, we're real good about criticizing others and setting standards that we ourselves don't follow. And, so sorry.
It's a lot of Western propaganda. It's still a lot of people still believe this, Larry, that the Iranian people are basically being held there against their will. And then when you have the media say, well, those people aren't really at the funeral, it's AI. I'm like, what is going? And so it's unfortunate, but a lot of people still believe that they're being held there against their will.
Yeah. Well, and again, this war that the United States has been waging on Iran, an unrelenting war since 1980. You know, it started with Jimmy Carter, his signing of a finding that led to support for Saddam Hussein, who launched the attacks on Iran. And then we've supplied Saddam with chemical weapons, or the precursor chemicals that were used to make chemical weapons. We also provided, and this is from congressional testimony, biological weapons, anthrax. So, and then over the years, the United States has been actively supporting both radical Islamic groups to carry out attacks on Iran, as well as the Mujahideen al-Khalq. Now, throughout this entire period, how many countries did Iran invade? None. And, you know, if the United States was being attacked in the same fashion, with the same organized international coordinated effort, we'd be fighting back. And so this is one of those things that when Iran is threatened and it fights back, all of a sudden say, see, you're a bad guy. And you go, well, wait a second. You know, but again, we're starting to see that worm turn, because with this invitation now, apparently, to join the Mecca agreement, I think some of the Gulf Arabs are recognizing, in terms of Islam, we've got more in common with Iran than we have. No, I'm not talking the ISIS characters, these Salafists. They preach an ideology that, frankly, I would describe as anti-Islamic, because they declare that the Shia Muslims are not real Muslims, and that's why they've been attacking them. But you go out to the majority of Muslims, they don't carry that kind of animosity and view. So this is again, all the West can do is try to divide, create mayhem, sow destruction. It's awful.
I would say too, this makes me realize, like, when we look back at Jolani, remember, for those who forget, like, both the Biden administration and the Trump administration supported Jolani going into Syria, right? They just, they both support that, by the way. But I felt like that was basically leading the way towards, okay, Israel, we're going to go in here and then we'll find our way, like, pushing back against Turkey as well. But doesn't Turkey have a nuclear weapon?
No, it doesn't. No, it does
Turkey,
not.
Pakistan does.
Yeah, Pakistan does. So that was one of the elements that in signing that pact, it brings Pakistan's nuclear weapons, brings Turkey under the Pakistani nuclear umbrella. And the same for Saudi Arabia.
So this is the thing, guys. Again, if you attack one of them, you're attacking all of them.
Right. Now, with this economic D-Day that Scott Besant's threatening, so it's supposedly starting now, since it's Monday in Tehran. They think they're going to be able to pressure Pakistan to abandon Iran. Well, guess who supplies the vast majority of Pakistan's oil and gas? That would be Iran. So and there's no other country out there that can step up and say, oh, forget Iran, we'll supply you all the oil and gas you need at the same low price. No, doesn't exist. So, Trump really has painted himself into a strategic corner here, and there's no clean way out.
Yeah, this is not going to end well. This is really bad. And that economic D-Day again, it's like all these countries that do have some type of business dealings with Iran. I mean, obviously they're not going to let their countries like suffer because of this either. This is embarrassment like on the world stage for the US government. And to me, it's like, we'll see, I guess, again, I'll find out tomorrow morning what's going on here. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, no, we'll have a clearer picture. By the time we get up, that'll be afternoon, and the meetings with us and Munir will be well underway with the Pakistani government or with the Iranian government. So, as I mentioned at the outset, this is part of the Russian-Chinese vision to create a new security architecture that is divorced from the Western hegemony, from the United States trying to dictate and control these countries through coercion, through economic threats, and once you promise to protect somebody, and it turns out you can't protect them, that tends to have a pretty interesting effect on national policy. People start stepping back, going, "Wait a second," and then the United States threatening to bomb Oman, and Oman's going, everything that they've done in the past was trying to help the United States. And now they find, no good deed goes unpunished.
So if Iran does join this defense pact, let's say they do, then that would mean if Israel or the US strike Iran, they would also, by that defense pact, they would be striking those countries as well.
Yeah,
how's that going
potentially.
to work?
Yeah, no, I mean that really raises the stakes, and I think that was sort of one of the motivations in doing this. Let's make it too costly, too risky for the United States to carry out any more military strikes in the Persian Gulf area, West Asia, and I'm not suggesting that this is going to be an easy agreement, and that it would be perfect, because we've seen already that there are limitations on the agreement, that the rule, if you attack Saudi, you attack the others. Well, the Houthis have been attacking the Saudis, and Pakistan and Turkey they're not weighing in on that. They're staying out of that.
So that's my final question. Where does this leave Ansar Allah? If Iran does join that defense pact agreement, where does that leave them?
Well, I think ultimately it'll lead to Ansar Allah becoming part of the pact. Wow. That's where I think that's where this is ultimately headed. Ansar Allah would make a deal with the Saudis in a heartbeat. If all the Saudis had to say, "Okay, look, we're going to lift the blockade. We're no longer going to be carrying Western water against you," because this entire war against the Houthis in Yemen, it was backed by the United States, using the Saudis as a proxy, and the Saudis stupidly got themselves committed to it. So, once they decide, let's get the Houthis on board, it's better having them, inside the tent instead of outside the tent. They're militarily, neither Pakistan or Turkey want to get tied up militarily trying to deal with the Houthis. Those are some hard people. They're tough. I call them, hard as woodpecker lips. So just leave them alone, because actually, historically, the Shia in Yemen, they're the oldest stable civilization population on the Persian Peninsula, on the Saudi Peninsula. The Saudis, they're Bedouins. They were wandering around the desert. The Yemenis, going back into history, they were actually, they've been at this for centuries.
It's very interesting. Well, we're going to have to stay tuned to see how everything shakes out. Again, guys, pay attention Monday. Monday could tell us everything. But Larry, let everybody know where they can find your work.
Yeah, if they check me out at sonar21.com, I put an article up last night that details the history of the United States support for these radical Islamists as a way to attack Iran and how it's backfiring. So I think people will find it quite enlightening.
All right. Larry, thank you so much for your time.
Hey, Sabby, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate our conversations. You have a great evening.
All righty, you too. Bye. All right, guys, that was Larry Johnson. Again, I'm going to pay attention to what happens tomorrow on Monday, guys, because that should tell us a lot more about where this is heading. I don't know. I couldn't have predicted this. Some strange things going on. That is it for me tonight, ladies and gentlemen. And so Eric is going to come on and close the show. He's going to read the super chats. And I am going to head out because I have someone that is here that I need to attend to. So,
Sabby got company. Well, we'll let you get to it then.
I do. All righty, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night. And I'll be live again on Tuesday evening. Keep up the fight.
All right. Yes. You can catch Sabby next live. Yeah. If it's Sunday, that'll be Tuesday. But I'm Eric T. Red here, coming in from the background to the foreground for just a couple minutes to read some super chats and stuff. Look what this camera's doing. There we go. That's better. Get some things out of the way here. Yeah, let's see. What was our theme tonight? Yeah, we had the show theme was what have you done for me, right? Or it could be what have you done for me lately? And what that kind of made me think of was when we look at like our Congress and our government and whatnot, and especially when people look at Democrats and they're all like, why aren't they doing things for us, right? Why are these Democrats so weak is a popular word. And when I hear that, I tend to like to push back a little bit. And what it comes down to is that Democrats aren't really that weak or really ineffective. It's not about whether or not they do things or get things done. It's about who are they getting things done for, right? Who are they representing? Whose interests are they acting in? And what it comes down to is that both parties are acting in the interests of the billionaires. That's really what all this comes down to. And when you look at that, right, when you look at the money and you follow the money, I personally, I can say I find it super clarifying. And I think, in general, if people look at it that way, they will as well. The whole system, the whole political system, even the society, the economic system, it's all been warped to serve the interests of that billionaire class. They have enormous wealth and resources, and they use them. And the way they use them is with political corruption. There's also, economic corruption and other parts of it. We tend to focus on the political end of it because that's where you really see the decisions being made. That's where the system is supposed to work in our favor, right? We're supposed to have a Congress and a government that represents us, the 99%, and instead they represent that top 0.1%, that billionaire class. And when you place things in that frame, I think it becomes a lot clearer. And that's what 11 Demands, which you'll see the link here, is all about. And I'm just going to bring that up briefly before I move on to some of these super chats, and we'll see what we get on the super chats. Here we go. But first, 11 Demands. It's all about the key thing in there is that we need, sorry, just finding the right point. Here we go. We need that mass movement based on clear demands with a strong focus on corruption. The demands are super important because they really keep the movement, the philosophy, the whole thing on track. If you're focusing on that clear set of demands, not on personalities, not on the latest story. Yes, we want to talk about the personalities, the latest stories. Even tonight there was a story, that was with Alex Jones and Tim Pool, and it's this ridiculous political theater. But the reason we cover it is because it's instructive. It shows you the type of political infighting that happens. And then what we do is then we pivot from that, right? We go from that coverage. We say, okay, what's the core problem here? Why is all this so ridiculous? And it's this way because you have that billionaire class at the top calling the shots. It's all about the money, follow the money. So, the clear set of demands is about dealing with that. And at the top, you have, fix the big money in politics. So you can see, lots about that on 11demands.org. I also want to point out, there's this part 2, the strong focus on corruption. Where that is really important is that if you want to have a mass movement, you need to give people something to hook into, right? What's going to make them say, oh, means something. This will, this is something that I can get behind. Everyone knows Congress is corrupt, right? Our government is corrupt. So our movement needs to have the demands and the focus on corruption all of a piece. So that's the idea behind all that. Check out at 11demands, 11demands.org. Our first job is a job of education, of getting the word out, of getting more people on board with this kind of thinking. And then they can use this as a system to challenge would-be leaders, would-be candidates. Are you on board with this? That's what 11 Demands is about. The 11 Demands Collective is about doing that in a direct way. Always be checking, sign up to 11 Demands Substack, because that's also where you'll get updates and interesting things from there. So moving on, we do have a number of chats in the old queue. So let me first see if I can bring up. Yeah, here it is. We had one on the Rumbles. Thanks to RB Ham. Let me get this right sizing here. Thanks for the Rumble rant from RB Ham. This goes back to earlier story. RB says, APAC Hakeem has no respect for himself or the community he's supposed to represent. Blatantly so. There's no going back from showing up like a field hand after the plantation owner Kushner summoned him. Yeah, and it's this idea that they do make it obvious sometimes. There's only so much they can do to hide the game and to BS us. People, understand what's going on. Our real challenge then is, what do we do about it as everyday people, as a movement? And that's what the demand space movement is about, getting clear on that and getting something real going. Thanks for the super chat from Davis, who says, Sabby screaming about Hakeem, quote, he's not against him, he's with him, is the perfect soundbite. Just saying. Yeah, and these things, these things, we all should be screaming in some fashion or another. When you really dig into these things, they basically always turn out to be worse than you even imagined. And it does make you want to scream. Do the screaming, do the outrage, and then think about how we can get together to make some kind of real change happen. Starts with demands. We go from there. Thanks for the super chat from Gates. Says, Alex Jones looks like a dwarf from The Hobbit. All right. And thanks also from this one, Gates, who says, it's entirely an all-in gamble to overtake China. I think talking about some of Trump's latest shenanigans. What the reason that they get worked up about China, it's economic. You have the Western billionaires, kind of what I don't want to call them our billionaires, but you have the U.S. and the Western billionaires who see China rising, who see Chinese billionaires, which are rising as much. They don't. China reins them in. I think the biggest thing China has going for it is, I think they I don't know if you want to say control, but they keep their billionaires kind of reined in better than we do. And I think that may be the reason why they're having a better time of it, at least for now. We'll see what the future brings. Anyways, a lot of this comes down to billionaire on billionaire. They're always trying to extract wealth and resources from us, but they also infight and try to get it from each other. And so these Western billionaires see all this money being made in China. They see the Chinese billionaires getting rich, and they want a piece of that pie. Well, they want all the pie. And I think that's what a lot of the saber rattling and the economic, I don't know if you call it warfare, battles against China, I think that's what a lot of that comes to. They want all the monies, right? That's what billionaires are about. Thanks for the super chat, Louis James. He says, was always a fan of Hayden. Hollywood has always been a dark place for young women, even going back to the 30s and 40s. That is true for sure. And thanks for the super chat, Measured Man, who says, as my son navigates sports in Hollywood, I pray I taught him not to chase acceptance or money, but to protect his identity and always know his worth. I hear you, Mr. Measured Man, and we certainly want that for all of our kids. Thanks for this one, Shenanigans. It's going to be chemically produced from another country, and it is real. All right. And thanks for this super chat from Cannabis Life, who says, always appreciate you keeping it real, Sabby. All right. We and she appreciate you. Also, thanks for this one. Thank you for sharing wisdom, Mr. Larry Johnson. Yeah, we like having Larry on. He definitely brings a kind of a deep state insider point of view because he's been in the middle of it. All right. Just a couple of super stickers here from, thanks for that one, from Lake Vacuum, maybe something like that. Lake Vacuum, appreciate those 2 super stickers. Appreciate you. All right, that is just about going to do us for the show today. You can catch the show and catch Sabby live next. The next live stream is due for Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and at whatever time that is in your time zone. Because I know we get viewers from all over the place. Meanwhile, thanks again to everyone for watching, listening to me for a few minutes. Make sure you're on the Substacks. The Sabby Substack's my Substack. You can reach it from 11demands.org. And until next time, have a good night. Keep up that fight, and we'll see you then. And peace.